Coming up next on Two Cops, One Donut.
When I was in the military 13 years ago, so 3 November 2010, I actually had a breakdown. I attempted suicide. I actually held my fiance, which is now my wife, so I'll just call her my wife. I held her hostage for like 7 hours.
Damn.
Had a breakdown. Most of the stuff I'll tell you right now is I don't remember it. What I do remember are the bad parts. So everything I do, it's from her perspective. So yeah, I held her hostage. Don't remember much of it, and was going to kill us both.
All right, welcome back. Two Cops, One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and today, you guys are not going to believe this. I hope you're just listening. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, you're not going to believe me for sure. But if you're just listening to this, my guest today, guys, is the one, the only, Tom Cruz.
Hello.
How's it going, buddy?
Oh, man, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. I know what you're thinking if you're listening right now. That doesn't sound like Tom Cruise. That's because it's not that Tom Cruise, you idiots. It's Tom Cruise, C-R-U-Z.
Yep.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, good. It's great Texas weather today. It's
I know.
Goes from 84 now to 74.
Anything below 85 in Texas to me is great.
That's beautiful.
I'm survivable up to 95. After that, I don't leave the house. So I got to be AC to AC. 95 and higher is a little miserable for me. But that's a lot better than how I started when I got here, because I'm from Michigan originally.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm from Ohio.
Yeah, that's our toilet. So you're welcome. Everything washes down. Yeah. Yeah, you're a Michigan fan, right? Wolverines? Oh, God, don't pull out a Buckeye bullshit. You asshole.
There it is.
Gentry didn't tell me this. Had he told me, you wouldn't have been allowed in this house, sir. It's funny because my chaplain from the Air Force, he's from Ohio, I'll say, and we'd play. He was a baller. He could play basketball like a champ.
Oh, really?
And we would talk so much shit to each other. I'm like, you do not talk like a chaplain, because when we're on the basketball court,
it's a whole different.
Oh, my God. I was like, if you're... I don't know what they call it. Your parish, if your people, your flock knew the way you are out here on the basketball court,
they wouldn't be coming back.
I know. But
awesome.
Our buddy, a mutual buddy, Gentry Cotton, got us hooked up. He's like, I know a good guy. Be a good guest. So today's episode, people like to get out front. They want to know what the episode's going to be about. So today's episode is going to be Army vet, talking about. We'll get into like what his duties were and stuff like that. Quickly, his background, but the primary thing is he works with a nonprofit. Is your nonprofit correct?
Not my nonprofit.
Not your nonprofit. Okay, but the nonprofit One Community USA. That's onecommunityusa.org, which basically works with incarcerated veterans. Is that correct?
My program does, yes.
Yes.
We have 2 programs, but yes, my program does.
Okay. So that's the one we're going to talk about. Maybe talk about some PTSD, suicide stuff, things of that nature. So that's what this whole thing is going to be in a nutshell. So we'll get down that rabbit hole. Let me think. Any announcements? Oh, I got my new lighting going on, guys. So if you're watching, if you look at them, it's blinding though.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I've been in worse, so you got in position pretty good.
And it's only at 30%. So I can control all that shit by my phone. Let me show you something real quick. I put this on. I'm such a nerd. I'm sorry.
I didn't know about this before. So
no, you didn't. So this thing has modes, right? Candle mode. Oh. So if you're watching this, guys, you're seeing we're setting the mood right now. But even better.
There we go.
Cop mode, baby. Cop mode. You don't have seizures, right? I should have asked that before. My wife's like, you're such a dork. I'm like, why do you think I bought these specific LED lights? Because I had options. I could have got different companies. They all have the colors combo stuff. Let me stop that. It's driving me crazy. There we go. They've all got these color combo things. That's awesome. But this was the only company I saw that had police mode.
No, I like that. So, that just fits perfectly with it all.
I know. Oh, that's what I'm saying. So I thought it was funny. Anyway, all right, let's get into it. Tom Cruise. Can I call you Maverick?
You can call me. Yeah.
Please tell me they called you that in the Army.
They did. So when Top Gun came out, I was in like 8th grade, something like that. So
Okay.
yeah, I became
How old are you?
47.
Okay, so I'm 40, 7 years older
Okay.
than me. Okay, so we can jive on the same generational stuff. Um, so you to first off, let's start from the beginning, like I normally do. My brain will get us going all over the place if I don't control it. So you grew up in Ohio,
I did.
and you joined the Army. So kind of walk me up to that point. Did you have family in the military? What led you to that type of life of service?
For me, well, it led me to the service. So I was on track. I did really well in school and all that. I actually had a full ride to a private college based off of academics. I was a huge nerd. Just took every class possible. Could have graduated early from high school. My mom wouldn't let me. But then I got the scholarships, and college is a lot different than high school. And I learned the hard way that I partied too much in college, and by
Me too.
about 3/4 away in, I ended up losing all the scholarship, put on probation. So by March, that was around March, and I was like, oh man, okay, so I'm on probation now. And then my family was going through a rough time. My family had split up. My mom and then dad broke up. And then each of my brothers went to each one of them. So I have 2 younger brothers. And so it really divided the family a lot, even to this day. And so for me, having that happen, having the college happen, the Army called me and said, hey, we're looking for some good people. And I said, well, I think I'm good.
Right?
I'm good at what? I don't know.
Need infantry?
No. So, well, that's the thing. And so I showed up and said, I'm pretty smart. And then I took the ASVAB way back in the day and even in high school. And that's what they went off of. And they said, well, all we got is to be a mechanic. I said, well, I'm kind of smart. Mechanic's not really me. Well, I said, well, my dad was a mechanic. I said, well, okay, let me try being a mechanic. And then he said, hey, would you like to jump out of planes? I said, sure, that sounds like fun.
Why not?
Why not? And so I joined the Army, and literally that was March. I left in May of that same year. Just went straight to the Army and went to Fort Jackson, did my AIT for mechanics. And then they said, all right, all you airborne people get on a bus and you're going to Benning. And then from Benning, I ended up going to Fort Bragg.
So you were a mechanic and an airborne.
Yep.
I didn't know that was a thing.
So I went to 82nd. Was a mechanic.
So you were a mechanic for them. Okay.
Yep. And so everybody in 82nd jumps.
Gotcha. Yeah, my high school buddy, actually neighborhood, we grew up on the same street. He's at E9 right now.
Oh, okay.
You know how political that gets to become an E9. But he got blown up a few times. Took quite a few IEDs to the head, so I always make fun of him. And then because of that, he actually, I think I can't remember how the Army calls it. Basically where that SEAL team helicopter went down.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they called that Michigan, to be honest. I think that was called FOB Michigan or
right.
I'd have to ask him again. But anyway, he was there. They're the little Iraqi security police that they allow to like work with them on their base or whatever. They allowed a vehicle-borne IED to get in, blew up like half of their base. It knocked him out. And when he woke up, I guess you would still call it an ambush, was coming across the field. He gets his senses, starts laying him down.
Oh, wow.
It earned him a trip home, and he was on the Rose Parade, reuniting with his family, surprising his family.
That's so
They didn't know that he was going to do it, and I recorded it for him the best I could at the time, and sent it to his family. So somebody had the memories, but yeah, that was basically, I think, what earned him that E9 spot when he finally went for it, because he was like I think he was an E7 when that happened, just going to an E8. And what's an E8 in the Army?
So it's either a master sergeant, or if you're in a leadership position, it's a first sergeant. So okay. I retired as a first sergeant.
Gotcha. So he goes to that, and then I remember him tell me, he's like, I'm either going to retire or they're going to give me the C9 spot. And so he had put in, and he got it. So I'm pretty proud of him.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
Being an E9, you know, that's the top. That's as far as you can go, as far as enlisted.
As far as you can go, and it is all political, and that's why. I think due to my situation and what happened is why I never ended up making sergeant major, and so I wasn't political enough, and because I had a past, it was kind of like I was destined just to be the first sergeant. And then
I gotcha. Let me guess, because this is how it normally goes in the military. You were there for the troops, and the higher ups didn't like that.
Yep. Yep.
Because you weren't a yes man.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not a yes man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You either need to have a jacket that is
Mm-hmm.
so combat heavy that they just can't deny, like, they would look bad if they denied you, or you have to be that admin guy that.
And that's the thing is, like, in what I ended up doing is I ended up changing professions. So I ended up in the military intelligence. So I ended up being a counterintelligence agent / interrogator. I went through both courses.
Oh,
and
okay.
So I did that at every level, with every agency. So my jacket, my portfolio for me in the military, it looks really, really, really good as far as I've hit every benchmark working with. I worked with the soft community for almost 14 years, at every level from SOCOM down to teams, and then. I was working with DIA. I've worked with all kinds of things, and I worked with the units that are here in the States, units in Europe. That's where I worked with NATO.
Yeah,
that's actually where I retired out of. So I had everything, but just again, once we talk about my past, that's probably why they were like, you just be glad you're in the Army still."
So, right. What deployments did you start with, so people have a time preference?
Oh man, see, here you go. Why you gotta do that to me? So most of y'all don't even know, but back in '99, I was actually in the second wave of Kosovo.
Okay.
With the 82nd. So I spent the Y2K 2000 year deployed to Kosovo. So I was down there, Camp Bondsteel, and so I was there from I think September of '99 to March of 2000, and then I did. So I got back from that deployment. That was with the 82nd, and they said, "Hey, you're now PCS," and I was like, "Man, I just got off the plane. What's going on?" They're like, "Oh yeah, but you're gonna go. I'll work with SF group in Puerto Rico." I said, "Okay, I'll go."
Hell yeah!
So,
nice.
And then my next rotations were with 5th Group. I did three to Iraq with them, and then I did a rotation in 17 out to Jordan.
Okay, how was Jordan? I don't know anybody that's gone there.
I love Jordan. So Jordan is a country that is surrounded by terrorist countries and unrestfulness and unstableness, and Jordan is one of the countries that is the most stable in the region. I love Jordan. I thought Jordan was a great country. I did a marathon out there, run out there on the Dead Sea, which was super cool. The people are really cool. The mission was really neat. It was a mission set forth by the SF command out there. So it was really neat to work with. Not only we worked with reserves, we worked with Marines. We had different nations. It was a good experience overall in Jordan. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's
nice.
cool.
Yeah, I've a lot of people, especially in the Air Force, Saudi Arabia is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Go there, and everybody's like, "Dude, it's a vacation." I'm like, "Really?" And they love it. So I hear that, and then the other was, you get the shitholes and stuff like that. And Africa is one place that I've always been really interested in those deployments because it's so different every single place you go versus the sandbox. Iraq, Afghanistan is going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia is going to be cool. And then after that, I don't really know because nobody goes too many other places. No. So Kosovo, my buddy, they were, the Air Force was still going to Kosovo. Yeah. And this was probably 06, 07. He was over there, single guy. So he's like trying to check out the local talent.
Oh,
he got a military brief. He's like, the AIDS epidemic out there was like 80% or some crazy number. You never know if you can trust that percentage necessarily because it's a military briefing. But they scared the shit out of him enough to not date any of those girls out there.
Yeah, I would be very careful.
Yeah. So but he said Kosovo, the beer sucked. He's like, I can't even remember the name of the beer he was talking about. But he's like, it's like 2%. It's like watered down. It's bad. So he hated Kosovo. But Jordan, that sounds like it'd be a fun.
Yeah, I mean that's a good because you got everything out there too. You got the border with the countries out there, and you get to go see if you're biblical. There's a lot of biblical history in Jordan.
I didn't even think about that.
So we would go out and see some of that stuff, go on some of those tours out there when we had a chance, and go out to the embassy. So
pretty friendly towards U.S. out there. Or?
They were really friendly. Yeah. They definitely have their country. At least back then, they had their country definitely under control. They knew everything that was going on, and they were very, very good to us. So
now, you as a mechanic, what were you typically working on?
So I was back in the day. So this was from 95 to about 04, 05 is when I was a mechanic. So I was working on the old school stuff. So the deuce and a halves, the 5 tons, the old Humvees, the generators, the trailers. And then at the end of my mechanic career is when all the new LMTVs and all that. So it's really interesting because I was taught how to work on those. And it's just like now, if you work on a 1970, 80 car, it's like one way. But now try to tell me to put me in front of all the electronics and all that. Yeah. It's a 180-degree shift, right? Like that. Yeah. I wasn't like, I didn't know how to work on half this stuff.
I look at my engine now and I'm like, where's the engine?
Exactly.
I don't even see anything. Mm-hmm. Like, what?
And it's all by some little node that controls everything. And it's got to be,
So for those listening, the deuce and a half, just to give you a mental vision, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, think of Rambo, First Blood. There you go. When he rips him out of the big ass truck, that's a deuce and a half.
Yes, that is a deuce and a half.
And either just a cargo truck basically, or personnel truck. You carry a bunch of troops in there and stuff like that. But they never die. Nope. They break down, do all that stuff, but they never die. You can just work on them and keep them going. So we still use them. We still use them in training, at least.
Yeah.
Moving troops to and from on the base, on CONUS. So I know we're Air Force, but okay. We like to pretend that we're playing soldier every once in a while. So
hey, I jumped from you guys' planes. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. We give rides to anybody else.
Good chow halls. So I appreciate you. Good food.
Yep. Great chow halls. But all right. So now I know what you was working on. You get over there as a mechanic. Are you moving out with the troops everywhere they go, just in case their shit gets shot up and you need to work on it, or what?
So most of the time, I mean, the only time I did a mechanic deployment was when I was with the 82nd and all that stuff. So when I was in Kosovo, so I was in charge at that time of bringing everything out. So it was like the fuel, in Kosovo at that time, you guys had softened it up. You guys bombed it for about 90 some days for us as we were waiting in Macedonia.
Hey, you're welcome.
I appreciate you, because by the time we got in there was a very, very little fighting we could do left. Cause
I was still in school probably, so
everything was done for us. So my job then was to bring out fuel, recover vehicles that got blown up or flipped over, to help out pushing. We were just moving everything because we were, it was still nothing. We were out in fields. It was bare country still. So we were at the very beginning stages of that. So moving everything out to all the FOBs and everything.
Yeah.
The forward operating bases.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I said FOB earlier too, didn't I? FOBs. Yeah.
So that was the fun part of being the mechanic. And then I had a shift. I was like, when I retired, do I really want to work at a Jiffy Lube, and just change batteries and all the rest? So I was like, nah, I didn't want to do that. So when I got moved down to Puerto Rico, I was in charge of a motor pool for 7th Group. So it was a small contingent, special ops team down there. And it was like, I don't want to do this. So I met this guy that did counterintelligence. And I was like, wow, this is sexy. This is pretty cool. He's doing all this intel stuff and finding all these things. And there was an incident in South America that we were involved in, and I got to see him do work. And so I shifted my focus. I was like, okay, I can probably get more job opportunities and better pay when I retire if I go to military intelligence. So while I was in there, I put in my paperwork and actually then moved. So we gave up Puerto Rico in 2003, Roosevelt Roads. Basically, there was, we used Villegas to bomb it. Then there was one guard or somebody was on the island that got hit by a bomb, and so they protested, and so we want our island back. So we were like, okay, well, all of us had to leave. So basically, we closed down the Roosevelt Road, and that's where we had elements of all of our special forces. So there was a element of SEALs, there was an element of SF, there was an element of 160th, which is the helicopter guys, and elements all around there. Well, if we didn't have a base to be at, because that was our forward deploying for South America, so we were a quick reaction. Anything that happened in South America, we get there first. And with no base, it was like, okay, well, either we all move together back to like Southcom, which is based out of now Miami, or we all go back to our home bases. And so they were like, well, we're going to make you all go to your home bases. And so my home base was Bragg, where I had just come from. Oh. And I said, well, I don't really want to go back to Bragg. And I said, okay, well, the other option is to go to 5th Group in Kentucky. And so I ended up going, I said, yeah, let me try the other groups. I ended up going to 5th Group, and that's where I ended up being a mechanic for a very small time before changing over to counterintelligence, and then a year later taking the interrogation course. And then that's what I did for the rest of my time.
How long were you doing the interrogation stuff?
16 years. I did that for 16.
Oh, shit. Okay. So you questioned a lot of people?
Yeah, I questioned a lot of cool people.
Now, I'm an interrogator myself as a detective. I'm curious the differences between the military interrogation styles versus what I do.
I wouldn't think it's any different because I've been through the Reed Institute.
Yeah,
I've been through a lot of the civilian.
I've done Reed.
Yeah,
I take some stuff from Reed,
no,
but
no,
for the most part, I just kind of play it by
no.
ear with the person I'm talking to and kind of feel them.
I think it's more of a chess match, right? Like you
Yeah.
know you're bad, I know you're bad. I've got to get you to admit you're bad. So it's more for me. It was a chess game. Like I would wear you down mentally till you gave me until it gave me the nuggets. And I had some great analysts that worked with me. I had this one particular analyst that was just phenomenal, right? And so him and I worked really, really well. He was great on getting the information, and then he was great sitting in the back while I was doing the interrogation, and he would like cue me in on things or things like that, pick up on it, and I was able to draw things out of the guys. And so with that team, just him and I doing that, we were I think we only had one guy not out of my whole time, one guy not admit or give up the information, but we had enough on him anyways. But everybody else we were able to break just because we knew how to play off. It's more about mentally and figuring out where people's weaknesses are, where their loyalties lie, and if you know the culture, and if you know the people, and if you know how to get to people, and their weaknesses, then it makes it easy.
Yeah. Is it different when they don't speak the same language? Like when you're trying to go through a translator? Because I've had to do that here with Spanish,
Mm.
and I haven't had much of a hard time because I don't know. I consider it an easier language because there's so many Spanish speakers down here.
Well,
But
for me, it was easy. And I had the blessed opportunity to work with SF for the whole time that was there. So our interpreters were special. All of ours came from Michigan. They were from the community, so they were already Americans that spoke it. So we weren't getting the local nationals that it was difficult
okay,
to do, or alliances, or maybe they would lie to us and not give us the information. Our guys were Americans, cleared, had high clearances. So, and one story behind that is where that saved our lives is we went on this mission, and it was a three hit mission. It was three targets, and we had to hit them at the same time. Well, due to weather, one team had to break off. Another team got to their target, and nobody was there. And I got on my target, and we were out in the rain. It was pouring down rain, and I usually separate the women and the children to one area and the males to one area, and then I pull them male by male, and I start questioning. Well, one male I'm questioning outside in the rain. I'm sitting there questioning him, and I can understand. I get as you learn.
yeah,
Start
pick up some words here
stuff.
and there. Yeah,
And all of a sudden, I look at my interpreter, and he's like, yeah, Tom. He's like, he just told me. He said, it's dark out here. He said, why don't we kill him and you and I run away? I know a safe place to go and blah, blah, blah. So he was trying to convince my interpreter
oh yeah.
to turn on me and kill me. And then they would run away because it was in the middle of the night. We were outside, so chaos was going on. And
Did he play along?
And
Like, yeah,
no, because once he told me, it was game on. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, and so I felt a lot comfortable, having them because they were
Yeah.
Americans. There was no loyalty issues there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was once, and that became, he'd been my interpreter for a while anyway. So we'd already had a bond. Anyways, I didn't piss him off, I guess. So
Yeah. So as a interrogator doing it that long, you were running across the worst of the worst all the time.
And all of our targets were agents. So the people that I was working with, again, it was the small group from fifth group. So the same thing, the contingent group that had multiple missions that were dictated down from DOD and Army.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was working with the best of the best. Never at any point did I ever worry about anything because the 12 guys that were in front of me, there wasn't anything they couldn't take out. So for me, yeah, we were only doing HVIs.
Yeah.
Targets, big difference.
Yeah.
But HVIs that were national level. So
Okay. Anybody that's out there listening that is military right now and they're like, how the hell did he go from mechanic to interrogator? Like, what was how did you just put in for it and cross trained or?
So I had a guy, like I said, I was in Puerto Rico during the time. There was a guy, and I'm still friends with him now. He's actually a professor down in USF in Florida for the veterans students, and he he was the only one doing it. And yeah, it's a process. You've got to go through screening, and then there's like, a paragraph, and you got to go through testings and get cleared and all that stuff. And then you kind of got to wait for your packet to get approved. And at that time, there was a low number of them anyways, of the counterintelligence. And so, yeah, my packet got picked up, and I was able to go off to the school and get it cleared. So it was the in and out, really my MOS, my specialty being a mechanic. There was a lot of us anyways.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to transfer out, and at that time I just got lucky.
What was the training like? Like, how long did it take? And
It wasn't that long. I can't remember. That was back in 04, 05. It was a couple months, going through, report writings. And then for counterintelligence, there's a lot of different fields within that, right? There's, so there's a technical portion where you can learn all the little wahoo gadgets, and then you got to learn how to reporting. And then you're trying to teach commanders how to look at vulnerabilities within our structures, right? So it's not only about catching spies and all that. That's the cool stuff. But if a commander is going to go out and go do a mission, my job is to kind of help him. Okay, what are our vulnerabilities? What are the routes? What is the sentiment within the area? And I'm working with an analyst, and the same thing. Okay, so what do the people feel about us? Where's the route you're going to go? What is the history? Well, maybe this wouldn't be as smart. How many weapons, guns, all. So I'm trying to bring them up, and plus train the guys in there to also look for when they're getting played. Hey, these are people that are going to come up and try to get this type of information from you, and this is how you should react to it.
Okay, that's badass.
Yeah, it's fun because again, it's all mental. It's all a mind game.
Yeah. All right. So you do the interrogation stuff, and you retire out for that, and from that transition, that's a hard transition for anybody that's a lifer. I mean, how long did you do total?
26 and a half.
So, okay. So 26 and a half. You transition from interrogation, you get out of the Army?
Yeah. So I retired officially October of 2021. I was over in Belgium. So during COVID, which is funny because people were making about COVID and all this, we were literally, my family and I were in Italy when COVID hit. Then they shut Italy down. We were in Germany when COVID hit there, and then we got locked down in Belgium. And
poor guy.
And as of right now, my son and I are the only ones that have not had COVID, and we've only gotten our 2 shots or whatever. But we've traveled all over the world, and him and I still have not gotten it. My wife got it once, and it was the first time last year in January. And then
maybe you were one of those asymptomatic guys.
I'm going to blame that the military pumped me with so many things that I glow in the dark, that COVID got into my body and ran away because of everything I got over 26 years.
The anthrax shot was the worst for me. Or shots.
I have all of them and the boosters.
Yeah. When they gave me the anthrax thing, I had my 3rd dose. My whole left side on the inside. It was such a hard way to explain to the doctor, and he didn't give a shit anyway. Just gave me, the military candy, Motrin 800, and it hurt, but just on the left side, like internally, top to bottom, especially my organs. That's the only way I can say it. They ached, and it was just like you could draw a straight line down my body. Yeah. It was weird. Yeah. So who knows what kind of crazy cancers I'm gonna get.
No.
But yeah, same thing. Yeah. All the juices. Yeah. And then when the vaccines came out, because I'm still in, I do the reserves now, but yeah, they're like, you gotta go get the vaccine, so I go get all that shit. And I got COVID, every freaking variant that comes out, I got it. So
every variant.
Yeah. It wasn't the very first time that was bad. That was I had to go get breathing treatments. I was fucked up for a while. But it was just mostly a respiratory issue. I got sick, fever, cold, the typical 3 days go by and I'm starting to feel a little better, and I was like, okay, it's just a normal whatever. And then it crept into my chest and I could feel it creeping into my chest. And 7 days, 14 days, I'm like, I gotta go to the doctor.
Oh, wow.
So
that's no joke.
Yeah, go to the doctor, and he gives me steroids and breathing treatment shit, and then I started getting better. So
that's awesome.
That's all. But yeah, man, I know all about Especially with as many deployments as you went on, I bet you had to have the malaria stuff. If you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that Two Cops, One Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera. No strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you, or reach out to me, and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today, or reach out to me. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you.
I've got everything. I don't even know. And most of the shots, I don't even know. It was just because that's what's funny about the military. Out in the civilian world, I don't get a dental warning. I don't get a shot warning. But like every 3 months there, I'd be like, hey, you got to go get shots. Well, what am I getting?
It doesn't matter.
You're out of date. Go get some shots. And so I literally don't know what shots I've been given or not given. Just I was told I'm out of date. I'd go down and they'd shoot me up. Now I'm current. And so
They gave me a powder in these packets. They're like, hey, we ran out of shots. Don't know what the shot was for. So like we got this powder. Just mix it in your drink at breakfast and lunch. And I was like, okay. I mixed it. It tasted like straight ass. Hated it.
Goodness.
Don't know what I was taking.
No.
Still to this day. I had to take it for the whole week. It was me and like half of my flight. So
good luck on you.
Yeah, who knows what we're gonna catch later. But yeah. So you exit and now you got to transition, which is really hard especially for lifers that transition. Were you scared?
I wasn't scared because I had told, I had been telling troops all the time, when they said, well, for Sergeant, I'm going to get out. I just want to get out. And I'm like, well, what's your plan? I'm not going to let you get out without a plan or, it doesn't make sense because of all the benefits that the military gave us, with housing and medical and, dental and just everything, the schooling, the tuition. I was just like, find me until you can find me something better. I don't recommend you getting out.
They take the worry away. That's what I tell people. I was like, there's all these benefits, but you don't make much money. But at the thing that you can't put a price on is the worry. Yeah. Like you don't have to worry about anything.
Don't worry about nothing.
Yeah.
Moving and everything was all done for you. I mean, it's hard and it sucks, but I mean, it's all done for you. And so being out of the military, I kind of was running around with my, chicken with my head cut off. I was just like, what am I going to do? And like, really, I'm good at a lot of things and, there's not a large field for what I do, so in the military, and I really didn't want to do that anymore because of what I do now, my side stuff. So, when I was in the military 13 years ago, so 3 November 2010, I actually had a breakdown. I attempted suicide. I actually held my fiance, which is now my wife, so I'll just call her my wife. I held her hostage for like 7 hours. Damn. Had a breakdown. Most of the stuff I'll tell you right now is I don't remember it. What I do remember are the bad parts. So everything I do, it's from her perspective. So yeah, I held her hostage. Don't remember much of it, and was going to kill us both. And I had sent out a suicide messages and all that stuff. And so this is middle of the night, and she then was talking me down, right? And then trying to talk me out of it and all this stuff. And people started getting my text messages and starting to try to intervene, right? But what they didn't understand is what they were telling me wasn't what I was hearing properly. So what it was doing was making me more upset. And so she now had to deal with not only me being in whatever state I was, now I had to deal with people that were making me angry and getting them to understand, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the police get involved, and they surround the house. And what ended up happening to that is the police ended up handling that wrong too. The person that the negotiator was at, they so again, I'm military. I had a snap. I'm a high-ranking person at this time still.
Is this on the base or is this
So
outside?
I was part of a whole another special unit.
Okay.
And this was off base out in the civilian population. And so I had a school behind me. They had to shut the school down. The neighborhood was shut down. And the negotiator was, in my mind, in military and first responders, the ranks are different, right? Similar, but very different. And so this person was a sergeant. And for me, I was, 3 ranks above that already.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to tell me what I needed to do. And in my mind, that wasn't going to work. You don't, and I had asked for somebody else to come talk. I need somebody else. No, I'm the only one on here. You're only going to talk to me. And so now my wife had to sit there and talk to a negotiator to go, hey, you're making them more angry. And they were telling me that, hey, they were lined up on the door. They were going to come in. And the part that I do remember is, telling my wife that, hey, if they do charge this house, here's a wet paper, wet towel, put over your face, lay flat on the ground because they'll tear gas the crap out of this house, and they're going to come for me. So just lay flat, because I had already prepared to. I was, of course, I would have lost, but I was going to go okay because I knew they had to come through my front door. The front door led to a single stairs, and the stairs led to the room that I was in.
Yeah.
So I was gonna, in that state, I was gonna go at it. And I told the negotiator, I said, how are you going to storm this house? He said, you don't know the layout of it. You don't know where I'm at. And I have a hostage. How are you going to storm this house? And she kept telling me, I'm going to storm it. We're going to storm it. And I'm like, okay. And so we play this back and forth for a long time. And my wife is now talking to people on the phone that are making me angry. She's now talking to a negotiator, trying to keep me calm. And the only reason I'm alive today and the only reason I stay alive is because of her ability to talk us out of that situation. So she finally got everyone to just shut up and let her do what she was doing. And she sat there and talked me down, and kept me sane. And then I snapped back to like I am now, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh man, I was like, now I know I'm done. I said my career's done, my top secret clearance is done, my family's done. And she was my fiance at the time, so she had no obligation to me besides just love. This like
Right.
There was nothing keeping her there. And so I undid her, I unbound her, and I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I was like, go. I was like, leave. And the cops obviously had my phone, and they were like, he's telling you to leave. He's telling you to leave. Because I had buried the door and everything. And so I had moved everything, and I was like, go. I was like, but the problem is she knew, and because I had slid down into the corner and with the gun to my head, and she knew that if she left, that was the last time she was going to see or hear from me.
Yeah.
So instead, what she did was she sat right in front of me, And she's like, just talk to me. What is on your mind? What is wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know many people that would do that when there's a person with a gun to their head that had just been holding them for 7 hours and told them all the worst things and all this stuff and heard the worst things. And instead, she just sat there with me. I was just like, just talk. Just let me know.
Yeah.
And so it was the first time somebody actually wanted to hear my side. Because if you look at my history, and it goes back to I'm the first one to graduate high school. My parents got out of high school to have me. So I mess with my brothers all the time. I was on purpose. They weren't.
Yeah.
So like I'm more special. But I was the only one to graduate high school. So I then had to try to help, do as good as I did. I was the first one to go to college. I had to help my brothers. I was the first one to join the military. I'm the first one to do a lot of things in my family. First one to have a college degree. So a lot, and then be a soldier. And then I was a leader. Literally, I joined in 95. I was an NCO by 98. So in 3 years, I was now in charge of troops and been in troops. So everything's always been on me.
Yeah.
Everyone's always wanted my advice, my things. No one's ever asked me how I'm doing. And so even in this situation, now somebody, even in that situation, people were talking to me and the police and everyone's still coming at me. And I couldn't handle it anymore. And so, she's the first person that sat in front of me was asking me, what do I need? Not somebody telling me what I needed. And so I broke down, and she was able to get me to take the gun apart, put it up, and then she knew better, so she held my arm. We had a little pug at the time, so I put him down in the bathroom because I knew when the police came in, they had bigger dogs and could eat my dog.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to eat my dog, and so I put him down in the bathroom, and then I walk out, and she holds on to me because she knew that there was a possibility of me pushing her out and then going back in. And so, but as soon as I get outside, of course I meet the grass real quickly. Eat a lot of earth.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then I get taken away in one car. She gets put in another car, and we go to two separate hospitals. And they test me for everything. And I am like I'm right now. I'm telling the police everything. I'm like, this is what I remember. This is all everything. And I'm in the hospital. They do blood, alcohol. They do every testing possible to see
what triggered
what is in me. And I have nothing. I hadn't been drinking. There's no drugs. I've never done drugs. Nothing in my system. And I'm like right now. I'm like this and this. And then so she's in another hospital, and they're trying to ask her to file charges against me, obviously, and she doesn't. She's like, no. And then because there was some false reporting by some people of what was going on inside the house, once the police went inside the house and saw that none of that was there, and because I came out cleanly, they let me go. They said, hey, she's not doing anything. Go ahead and go. And I was like, I don't think this is right. And so I asked to be referred to the mental health side. And so I ended up referring myself. Since this happened in Maryland, I was able to go to Walter Reed.
Okay.
And so I self-referred myself to Walter Reed, 6 p.m. that night, the next night, and get handcuffed to a bed and in an ambulance. I'm like going down.
That you're voluntarily going to.
Yes, I'm like, okay. And
procedures are procedures.
I was like, that's fine. And so we get there, and I thought that was the last time I was going to see my fiance. I was like, there's no way she's going to, stick around. Like she could go back to Ohio. She's from Ohio. So she's like, go back to Ohio. I'll never see her again. And I wouldn't have blamed her one bit. I wouldn't have blamed her. I did a horrific thing, and I'm sorry for that. So I'm sitting in a psych ward, and I do all the things, and when you get in there, you can only give one person access. You can give people access. Like I can say, I want Eric to know that I'm here. Otherwise, if they call there, they say, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I only gave one person the rights besides my command, obviously. Person, it was her, in case she showed up. And so the next day, and I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with DC traffic and all this. It was literally from where we used to live to the hospital was an hour and a half traffic. It was worse than getting from here to Dallas.
Dang.
And so she came after everything I put her through. She came every day during visitation, and spent the whole visitation with me, and would bring me little motivational notes and things to keep me going. And so that right there started changing my mind, was the trigger of changing how I am and who I am today. Because before then, I was that alpha that I'm the best, I've done the best, I'm the coolest, I don't need help, I don't need mental help. That's all for, wusses and whatever. Just like, and I never had time for that. I didn't whatever. Now I'm forced.
Yeah.
To get help. Now I'm forced to learn about myself. Now I'm forced to deal with stuff. And so I stayed there for about 14, 16 days in the psych ward. And even then, they couldn't figure out. They're like, well, you're fine. Like, we don't know what's wrong with you. So just here's some depression, and here's some Zoloft to go with it. I'm like, So I ended up going through every program that Walter Reed had, from outpatient to all this stuff, and I ended up over in the Wounded Warrior side. So by that time, I'm with 25 of the bravest guys, missing limbs, all kinds of other issues, and great group of people. But at that point, you're out of the military. That's the last, like, we're gonna give you some extra care, but you're done, and we'll tire you out. And I told him, I was like, I want to stay in. I don't think I'm done. And so I had to go through more testings, more procedures, more stuff. And so me and another E8 in the Air Force, We were only two to be able to break it and stay in the military. So I was able to stay in the military. So I broke stigma number one of staying in the military with mental health disorders. So I've been diagnosed with PTSD, severe PTSD, depression, anxiety, you name it. I've got sleep apnea. I've been on every medication possible for all of them, sleep and all that stuff. I have a CPAP. I've got all that stuff. And so then I was able to stay in the Army, but now I have to deal with, I have a top secret clearance. So how's that going to look? And so because of all the programs and because I had showed that I've been working my butt off to, better myself and become better, I was able to keep my clearance. I was put on a probation for a year, but they're like, hey, you don't mess up. You continue to do what you say you do. You can keep your clearance.
That's great.
So I broke stigma number two was being able to have a clearance with a mental health disorders.
Right. It's not a career killer.
Oh, so I was still able to do the next 10 years of my career. I had to go 2 more times to get it. Obviously, you got to go every 5 years to get your TS adjudicated. Yeah, my process sucked. It took about 3 days. I had to explain my story every time, but it was worth it because I was able to keep it. And so actually, when I got out of the psych ward, they actually put me in my first so like 6 months later, first they wanted to send me to a unit that was going to deploy, and I had a psychologist who had been dealing with the Sandy Hook stuff, and so he said, I got orders. I said, hey, look, I'm going to this unit, and then we're going to deploy in 3 months, and this is right coming out of the psych ward. So he's like, are you excited? I said, yeah, man, this is awesome. I love being downrange. I said, love it. I do not regret anything I've ever done down there. I loved being down there with the guys that I was with. He's like, oh, you're excited? I said, yeah. He's like, he in front of me picked up his phone, called the Army, and said, yeah, Tom's not going. Tom's under my supervision until I tell you.
What
I was
the
like,
fuck?
because he knew. And
Yeah.
he knew what was best for me, right?
Yeah.
Even though I was gung-ho and ready to go, coming 6 months right out of the psych ward when what just had happened, not even a year later, going straight back into combat, maybe or maybe not, it would have been good to me. And he didn't think so. So he stopped it. And then so he's like, no, and I want him close to me. I was like, you son of a gun.
Dang.
And so I ended up getting my first sergeant position about 30 minutes away at another base. So they ended up making me a leader instead. And so I had troops all the way from Maine down to Virginia. So I had about 80 to 100 soldiers and civilians scattered.
Mm-hmm.
And so the leadership of the unit kind of they knew my situation, obviously, but no one else within. There was rumors and they probably had heard. But I wanted my troops to love me or hate me for my leadership, not because of my past, right? So no one really knew. Well, my commander, who was an awesome, awesome man, he sat there and said, you know what, Tom? We were a year in our command, and he was like, I think you should share it, your story. And so I had to talk with my wife. So yeah, she ended up marrying me. Yeah, so we ended up getting married the following year. So, kudos to her.
Well, if you didn't wife her, then there was going to be a big problem with you.
Exactly.
Because you ain't going to find another one like that.
No, so kudos to her. So she's the one that's got to deal with me now.
Yeah.
We're working on year 14 now.
Nice.
So, yeah. And so I talked with her, and I was like, are we ready to share our story? And she's like, I trust you if you want to. And I said, okay. And so we told our story. It was Suicide Prevention Month, September 2012. And we told our troops, and said, this is what we went through. This is what we've gone through. This is what we're doing better. This is how we're recovering. This is what we're doing. And the outpouring of love and support from the soldiers and civilians was mind-boggling. It was just, they came up to me, talked about how that was awesome. They shared their stories. They shared how should they get back into therapy? What do they need? Because backtrack a couple of years. So in 2008, I was getting ready to come back from Iraq. So it was April of 2008, and my boss, who had been in multiple conflicts before, he was the grandpa, the father, could get ice in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Very quiet, but could do his thing. He said, hey, Tom, and this another guy, can you guys bring the troops home? And I said, sure. He said, I got some family things going on. My daughter's not doing good in school, and I want to be there. I was like, no, man, go ahead and do it. We can bring him back. It's not a big deal. Well, didn't know he was having other issues at the house, and he ended up hanging himself.
Oh no!
About a week later, so I had to go back with my buddy, bury him, go back to Iraq, bring the troops back, hold another burial, and then try to deal with all that. And so that was my first bout with someone killing themselves that close to me. And so I went and sought help. And the help that I got was not any help. They were just telling me I was grieving and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You get over it. And I told that person, I said, I rode my motorcycle in today. I said, I want to ride my bike into a wall now. That's how great your help was. And she was like, no, that's okay. You won't. You'll be fine. And so I never sought help again because I said, if that's the help I'm going to get, then I'm never going to go again. Fast forward 2 years, here we are. Now I have no choice but to get help.
Yeah.
So I go and share with my troops and the outpouring love. And so for the past 13 years, what we've done is travel the world sharing our story. We've talked at the White House. We've talked at the VA. We're part of every suicide prevention organization in the country. We've talked at conferences. We've talked internationally at conferences. I work with Congress now. I'm a consultant with the White House. We do a lot of guest experiences. And what makes us different is I hate doing these types of interviews because if you ask me, I'm not the one that wants to be alive. Like I tried to kill myself and I still have suicidal ideations. I still struggle with all this. It's, my wife is the one that, is still that buffer that keeps me going, keeps our family to go. And so a lot of people always see the guest speakers as that person, like, oh, Tom's the one with the story. Tom's the cool one, and these other people, but they don't understand the support that goes into, they're the ones that you get to see me for 3 hours and then get rid of me. They've got to deal with me for 24/7, right? And so our family is made up. She has 4 kids. I have 2 kids. And then we have one together. Now, the funny part about him, here's the story about him. His name is Holden Chance. So Holden from Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield, who has PTSD, and Chance is, I'll explain why. So Holden, when we did get together, we said, wow, we already got 6 kids. We don't want no more. We want to be able to travel and
I
stuff.
don't blame you.
And
That's a shitload of kids.
Yeah. So in the military, I went and got the procedure done because it's free. And so a couple months later, she goes, but Tom, rethinked it. We don't have any kids together, though. We should have a kid together. And I said, I can't have a kid together. We just talked about this. And so she's like, but I really want one. And so I went and got it reversed in the military. Geez. And so get the reverse, and you have to go through some testings. So I got some testings done to make sure. And they go, yeah, the procedure went well, but there's going to be some issues still. So, but keep trying to have kids. You may have one. You don't know. And so I hung up the phone with the doctor, and me and her started laughing. We had just come from the hospital. She was pregnant.
Oh, damn.
So his middle name is Chance because we weren't supposed to have him.
Yeah.
The other special thing about him is he was born. So my anniversary date is 3 November 2010. That's my alive date. He was born 1 November 2012, brought home on 3 November 2012. So literally 2 years later, that day doesn't have to be a dark day for me anymore because his birthday falls on that. So I now have a little motivation.
Damn.
What's also special about him is we know that children that live in households that have mental health, alcohol, drugs and all that stuff, they kind of think it's their fault or they're pushed aside or they're not part of the solution, and it kind of messes them up, right? And I'm already messed up enough, and so I was like, and I try to use this in certain scenarios. Some people it works, it doesn't work. But I said, but I was trained that if I'm in a location and an active shooter comes into that location, I'm one of the more likely people to go towards the attacker. I've never ran from fire. I've always ran to it.
Yeah.
This is the way I'm trained. So I didn't want my son to be scared of me when he sees me staring off, when he sees me twitching, when he sees me when I don't know how to help myself. So I've trained him. He's been at every conference. He knows my triggers. He knows what to do. If he sees me doing that, he knows how to help. He knows how to talk. He's only 10 now.
Yeah.
And not a life that I want for him, but I'd rather him know how to help me than be scared of me.
Yeah.
And so he knows now how to help. And so what does that do? One, that puts him as part of a support system and knows how to help the family now. So you can see mom and dad, they have issues, and how can I help? 2 is now he feels comfortable, as we can see, our children nowadays have a lot of issues out there.
Yeah.
So now he knows that he has at least 2 supportive people that if I'm vulnerable, he can be vulnerable to me when he has issues. 3 is now he can be an asset to schools. He can be our little spy because he's got the peer-to-peerness. Now, when he hears kids saying things, when he hears kids having issues, or when he opens up and talks to them, he can bring those to us attention before we have issues at the schools.
Right. Yeah.
And so he has traveled. So, like I told you before this, my wife and son currently live in Ohio because she's going through an advanced nursing program. They'll move down here. But when they came down here to visit, I was over at Carrollton PD as a guest speaker for their CIT classes. I would
Yeah.
go in there and basically say, hey, this is how you deal with people like me.
Crisis intervention team for people.
Yep.
Wondering.
And so during their training, I was a guest speaker to come in there and talk to them. And one of the times, my son came in, and so I gave my talk. It's on our Facebook page. But I did a talk. My wife, because it's usually I do 30 minutes telling what it's like to, what I did, how I survived recovery, and then my wife will get up, say what did she say to get us out of this situation, and what it's like dealing with me now. And then Holden gets up, there and talks, and so he sits there and says, what does he do to help me? How does he use it? And he talked to the CIT. He's been on podcasts and conferences his whole life. He's been guest speaking and all these stuff. So that was really cool for me to see him be able to do that stuff and be able to not be scared of the police and not think, oh my God, be intimidated or shut down. He actually was very vocal and took questions and everything else at 10 years old. So we do it differently. Whereas I know I'm not the star of this show. I'm not. I am just the product of something that happened, and they're the real stars, right? They're the ones that deal with me, see me, keep me in check, and help me out. And we do this as a family structure, which I think we need more of for and dealing with anything. It's just be veterans, but dealing with anything in the household that deals with mental, alcohol, drugs, whatever else. The family's got to come together as a support to make it work. Because if one is not working, I've worked with suicide veterans all over the world, and it's usually an imbalance in the family too of understanding how to help each other, or blaming, or some other stuff. And I've lost buddies afterwards, after what I do now. I mean, my commander, the one that is the reason why I'm doing what I do, he ended up killing himself because he couldn't handle getting out of the military. There was some conflicts and some things and some demons that he had been trying to deal with, and instead of calling me after telling me to go do what I do, he didn't call me. I found out from another commander that I had afterwards that said, "Hey, did you hear?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Yeah, he killed himself." And I was like, "Yo, I'm doing what I do because of him, and yet didn't reach out." So trying to help these guys in any way. So then that brings me to what I do now. And so I don't know if you have any questions.
I do, but you were on a fucking roll, so I was letting.
Well, because I'm used to this now.
So initially, when the hostage situation started kicking off, I want to help because cops go through this stuff too. Military listens to this. I'm a cop in the Air Force, so I also get people listening to the show from that. And I want to help them understand, one, some of the early signs and symptoms, and two, I'm curious. So you're in a different mindset when that was going on, obviously, and you had mentioned that you had started. It sounds like the military training took over. You knew they're going to tear gas the place and all that stuff, and you were telling your fiance at the time to get a wet rag. So had you made up your mind some point in there that you were no longer going to kill her? Or were you only really ever going to try to kill yourself?
I don't, because I don't remember much of them. And like I said, the parts that I do remember are only the parts that I was going to kill us both.
Yeah.
She said it, and even somebody that called and I actually talked to them, they thought we were being robbed. They didn't think they were talking to me. That's how far out of it was. Like,
okay.
They thought when I was on the phone, it wasn't. It was somebody else. They thought we were being robbed. So I think I had every full intention to take her with me, and I think, and kind of my reasoning behind that, I think, is because it was a person that had finally connected with me, knew who I was, and I think I didn't want to leave this world without that person with me. So being selfish, I wasn't going to go by myself. I was going to take somebody with me that it wasn't just some random, it's like, oh, I'm just going to hold somebody and do it just to be malicious. It was because it's this person that was part of my life, special to me. Mm-hmm. And I was being selfish in the point that I was going to take her with me to be with me.
It just shows how the mind kind of fucks with itself, because here you are, you're going to take her out with you, but at the same time, you're telling her how to survive the encounter. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
because I think at that point, when it came down to now another force was trying to dominate the situation, is now I think the shift became not to her. Now the military and everything I had been to now reacted to. Now an enemy force was coming in to try to, stop me. And I think that's what kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Is like, you're like, well, if you're not going to work with me, then you're against me. And so now I'm going to shield the one that I want, the one that cares for me against this force that's trying to come in.
Yeah.
And so, and I'd already known that, okay, yeah, of course I'm going to lose. There's no way I was going to win it, obviously.
Yeah.
But that I was going to protect her against the force.
Gotcha. So this is where I'm going to try to be different from all the shows and stuff that you've done. And I'm still very much in the field. I got a team I work with. Hopefully I'll be promoting here soon to Sarge. But then again, I'm going to be over my guys in patrol and girls. And we're going to be dealing with the public all the time. So what did the cops do, or could they have done to improve that situation for you? So other cops hear this, don't make the same mistakes. Obviously, they were challenging you versus trying to get you help. And two, what can I take as a future leader, supervisor of troops that are going to be talking to people like you in the field? Like, what are those two things that we can do to improve as cops?
So I know there's a lot. We work with a lot. So like I came from Tampa. I was down stationed in Tampa for a while, and they're doing a lot of great work with the Tampa PD, and I see it. I see it spreading out to other PDs across the country and all that. I've gone into a lot of PDs and shared our story, and the same question comes up. I think a lot of it is you guys are trained, but you're trained in so many different areas that you're not hidden on one for very long.
Right. Jack of all, master of none.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I get it. Each call and each incident is individual and based, and you got to do. And what I tried to use is a military thing is when I was downrange, in another country, and we used to just charge into houses, right, and say, bam, we're here, and take out targets, and bam, bam, bam. Well, the enemy figured that out. The enemy was like, okay, so they're going to hit our house, they're going to come in, and this is going to be done. Well, the enemy started to adapt their idea too. So what they did is they started to move to about 2 houses down, would watch us storm in, and then blow up the house on us. And so I've been in a couple of bad houses where you go in and there's nothing there, and you're like, and you call, and it's at that point it's any window, any door. There's no rules at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because the enemy had adapted to how we started to. They knew every time, this is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to do it. Okay, so let's adapt. They adapted, we didn't. So I tell the same thing for here is we need to learn how to adapt. So instead of, we all get it, you guys are alpha, you all are big dogs on the street, we got it. You all are great, you all got this stuff. But bringing the sensitivity back into the situation, understanding who's on the other side, why. There's always 10 different stories. The initial reason why you're going on that target or that place is usually never the reason why you're actually there. There's always stories behind it. And so trying to be a human, and again, it's pending the situations, pending, children and women, weapons and mental state, but trying to get as much of the information. And I think that's what the CIT teams are doing. I think that's what some of these other, the mental health mobile teams are doing, being able to assist the actual officers. While we can't expect the officers to do anything and everything. We can't expect you will protect us, but also be passionate, also have a heart, but yeah, go ahead and shoot on target. Well, that's a lot going on in that split seconds. It's same as for us in combat, right? It's split men decisions, and then later on you're like, oh wow, was there a better way of doing that? Oh my goodness, but you ain't got time in the moments, right? So getting as educated now as far as cultural, like, okay, so why, who's in my cities, who's in my neighborhoods, the patrolling officers, who's all up in here, how many veterans are here, and then maybe the VFWs or in general mental health, like how many people got mental health issues, where's the drug and alcohols, where's the most calls where we know drugs are prevalent there. Okay, so what drugs, and then what's the side effects of those drugs? Because you may end up meeting somebody like me that is not in a moment, but I'm not a bad guy. That was one bad moment in 47 years that lasted 7 hours of my 47 years. And yet I was almost being taken out, for those 7 hours, not my 47 years. So it's, is there a different way to de-escalate the situation where instead of, keeping surrounded, keeping a containment, but like what we end up start doing is, downrange is we didn't start charging houses. we squeezed them, right? We squeezed the house, made sure that nothing could leave, and then we start calling people out, and then people would start coming out, and then we would put in either we'd send in a dog, we would put a camera. We had cameras to put on people to go back in and say, okay, we'll go back in the house now, open all the cabinets up and open all the doors now, go through every room, and then they came back out, and then they give us a more clear understanding of the area. Same thing here is cultural awareness, a more emphasis on what does schizophrenia look like, what is a mental health disorder, what does a person under fentanyl, heroin look like, what are their actions, what are they going to do, what are they most likely, how are they most likely to act, how long will it take how long can we wait?
Yeah.
Can a guy that's drunk, can we just wait till he falls asleep and then, he'll be better in the morning? Like, how long can that do it? Yeah, we don't have all day to sit there and wait for, one dude to come off of whatever. But I just think for me, it's all about out of the box thinking. What is some of the ways we can shift where we can learn more about people and why they do the way they do, and then help de-escalate, doing more interactions with the communities, being out there more with the communities, learning more about our communities, and then understanding that will reduce it, I think. And then, talking to the neighbors, like, okay, well, hey, so have you ever seen Joe out? Well, yeah, Joe's already out. He's always mowing his lawn. He does this, and I don't know what. It may be a marital issue, it may be a financial issue, it may be a job issue, it may be just something that can be de-escalated real quickly with just compassionate talking. Like if that negotiator would have one, not come at me, told me that they were at my door, they were going to charge in, and that she was the only one I was going to talk to, even though I'd asked to talk to my therapist, talk to my chain of command, because I knew they were in a mobile truck down outside. I knew that.
Yeah.
I already knew the whole tactic, so I knew she was not the only one down there. And I knew my command by that point had to be there too. My command didn't live that far away or work that far away.
So where they were screwing up was they weren't being, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right word. They weren't being fluid with the situation. Yeah. They were just trying to be rigid.
They were trying to get it over with.
Yeah.
And I think just, with the crisis intervention teams, I think them pairing up with the officers is a good balance, right? Just like a team. I'm an interrogator. Those guys were assaulters. I knew that was their job, and Tom didn't mess with that job. Tom didn't go and try to be like, I want to be the first one in the door. Yeah. That wasn't my job. My job was to come in and clean up the mess afterwards. Like, okay, what was left? Who can I interrogate? Blah, blah. I knew my role. So having them on there, we know your role is to protect and serve and try to de-escalate as fast as possible. But having a crisis intervention team or somebody that is more knowledgeable on those areas and where they are to help you guys going, hey, maybe we can try it this way.
Yeah.
De-escalate it.
Yep.
And then draw more people out. And you'll win the neighborhoods over that way. And unfortunately, social media is not your friends either. So the social media, it'll help in that aspects and just build a better community but again, it's all incident dependent.
And you got to be careful in your training because you don't want to get your cops out there and they hesitate because they're trying to force the de-escalation. They're trying to force they're like, oh, I got all this crisis intervention training now. Yeah. I got to make it work. When sometimes shit hits the fan and you have to make a decision right then and there.
It's tough.
It is. The areas that I'm in are, the crisis intervention team that we have, they have had to pull the trigger a couple times. And I've seen why. I've seen the videos and stuff, and I'm like, they made the right call. They didn't have a choice. Like, it was somebody was going to get hurt, and they had to make a call. So having that ability to, have the soft touch when you can do it, but being able to flip the switch when it's game time.
Yeah. And that's hard.
That is hard.
It's hard.
That's a rough call. And that's my advice to any of the officers and stuff out there listening now. Just don't get in your own head that you have to force your training to work. It's like when you learn a new control tactic move or defensive tactic move, and you're like, oh, I want to practice this one over and over, and then you're trying to make it work in a situation that it doesn't work. So,
and having people. So I'm part of a lived experience committee. On lived experience, what does that mean? Is I've lived it, done it, but then I'm in recovery, and I move forward where I can educate others on my horrible past, make sure no one repeats it again, right? And so I think, again, like veterans on veterans, there's a lot of veteran police officers. So, since you're a veteran and I don't know you past just what we've been here today, but I would more listen to you on anything you tell me. Like, hey, this is a great doctor over here. This is a great VA. This is, this is great bar or whatever. Just because that's our bond.
Yeah,
Yeah. We have that bond. Like I message you all day about Air Force, but you're still a brother at the end of the day. Like I would defend you,
right.
whatever.
Yeah, if you're not a military member and you're making fun of other branches,
like,
you don't
no.
know what the fuck.
So
yeah.
I think that goes with the same as the CIT and all that stuff. Is you have more people that have lived past that or have done that or whatever. Somebody on the other side of that phone or other side of that door, they're more likely to listen to it because that person, I know what a suicidal mind thinks like. I know what a veteran thinks like. So for me, I'm able to be more successful because I can talk to them and they can't BS me. When they sit there and say, well, no, just nothing can be done. And nothing be like, come on now. It can be done. And this is why, and this is how. And if you really want to, then this and this. If you don't, then that's on you. But, these are things we can do together. And I understand life is rough and blah, 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 blah. And we, go into all that. And so having somebody be able to talk the talk that's been there, it builds the credibility. And I think that's a key to it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things that's hard to find or to get out of any cops, especially, is and there's a lot. It's hard to explain to people. There's a lot of cops that had contemplated suicide or have attempted suicide. We have 22 kills out there as a nonprofit trying to bring awareness to that stuff because military and police, they have a high suicide rate. So having that mindset or having that commonality with anybody you're dealing with in a crisis, I think that shared brotherhood, not exactly the brotherhood people want to be in, but you are definitely one of the go-tos, I would say. That's what I would want out there. And you're right, having that commonality, being able to get in that mindset. I've never contemplated suicide
it's almost
myself,
like
so
it's almost like on your guys having an informant. Right. So it's like if you're in a certain situation, but yet guys like when we get into what I do for one Community USA, you can use I would deal with people that have had drug past, alcoholic past, right? And so if you're on a situation and you're like, yeah, the police officers, I get it, you guys don't want to. You're in the same structure. You can't tell, and getting help is frowned upon and all that stuff. But if you have informants that like, oh man, I know this guy that used to be on drugs, was in jail, but yet he's doing this recovery. He's in school now. He's doing great things. Maybe I could call him up. So that doesn't expose any of your history or your past, but you're using somebody that you do know that has had that past and using their expertise to talk a person out of that situation. Because again, it goes back to, if I have a guy that's done drugs his whole life, but yet he's turned his life around in a year and he's now going to, TCC and he's now getting a degree in that work, and which I literally have that, a guy that's it, I would more likely call him about like, hey, so I got this guy that's on heroin and this stuff, and I have no clue. I've never done drugs. How do I talk to him? How do I get him to understand the effects that's going on him? How do I get him to understand that that's not the way he wants to go? My buddy would have no problem sitting there going, I can come and help you out. And so having that kind of resources too is kind of keeps you guys still in your safety bubble, but by using the community and all the resources in there, because a lot of your community, all of our communities want to help in one way or another. We just don't know how to help. And then we've got that barrier, and the resistance. And so that's another way to win your community over.
I do that with domestic violence survivors a lot. Try to get a hold of typically females and have them reach out to one of my victims and say, like, look, they've been where you've been. And there is a whole different chemical mindset change between being that domestic violence victim versus being that domestic violence survivor. So we've had quite a few episodes as of late with domestic violence. It's been very popular. So, it's good advice. Same thing. But you survive this situation and you start giving back to the troops. You start going around talking to police. But then you get involved with One Community USA, which is not yours, but it is a nonprofit. Okay. Yes. I'm trying to keep them straight in my head. So tell me what that's about.
So Tony Brinker is the CEO and founder of One Community USA. And so she's in the restaurant business, and she was challenged when she was in New York to She went up, saw a protest, and she actually was going to ask the police chief and said, "So what are you going to do about these protests going out there?" And they flipped it on to her. "What are you going to do about this?" And it was more meaning, what's the community going to do? Like, we
Right.
can only do so much, but without the community and help and involvement. She's like,
It is a team effort.
it is. And
Yep.
so she took that to heart, and she brought it back here to Dallas, and she started the nonprofit, One Community USA. And so we have two major programs under that. One is called Shop Talk, and that's integrating local police officers into the barbershops, because we know where the barbershops and
Yeah.
salons are. That's where all the talkie talk goes.
Yeah.
And so we're in 14 cities now with that. 14 cities, over 85 barbershops, I think. And so it's going really well. Where we and all the staff on there are former DPD, or Irving officers, over 30 years of experience, each one of them. So they help run that, because it goes talk to talk. They know how to go into barbershops.
I think my city's doing it. We don't mention my city, but
Yep.
people, it's
Yes.
easy to figure out. But yeah, I think we do it too.
Yes. So it's been really great on that portion. And then what I do is, I'm the director of Pathways to Hope, and it's helping offenders pursue excellence. And so what we do is, I'm in 2 facilities right now, working on helping another facility, a detention facility, a jail. And what I do is I go into the jail every week, and I basically talk to these guys. I share my story. I ask them why they're messed up. I say why I'm messed up, and I try to get them, again, that recovery, that peer-to-peerness. What we do also is, every other month we go in for a week. We have 22 lessons we teach in a week, right? And it goes everything from resumes to job disciplines to mental health to parenting to finance to expectations versus reality, stories I tell myself. 22 lessons over a week period. Now, what's special about that is Tom Cruz can teach all those, right? Whatever. But that would be boring, and nobody wants to hear me. For 22 lessons, 7 hours a day, it's a 40-hour class. What I want to do is, what I've done is start bringing the community in. And why is that important? Because bringing the community into these jails, I've met some of the smartest guys I've ever met in the world in the jails. They just had bad luck, or they're doing dumb stuff.
Yeah.
But most of them don't want to be there and want to change, right? So bringing the community in there, the community gets to see how smart these guys are, how they do want to be different, that they just need a break, they do need just a job, or they just need a fun a house, or they're looking for something to help their families. So that is pretty cool. But then it shows the guys that are in the facility that the community does care about them, that when they get reintegrated back in their communities, there are people that actually do want to see them better. Because again, all of us, I don't care who you are, we're all fighting social media. We're all fighting the news.
Yeah.
Because they're perceived differently. Communities are perceived, even police are perceived different. Veterans, no one ever is perceived good in the news.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to bridge that gap by having the community come in and teach, and they're the experts in it. So I have a finance guru, but then I want the community in general that has a good heart to want to teach. So we have a curriculum. So even if you come in and you're like, man, I don't know, I'm not a genius in this, I'm like, I have a curriculum, student guide, facilitator guide. Now, if you're an expert, cool, that's even easier for me and better for me. But it's that bridging of the gap for the community, right? And then they graduate on Friday, and we usually have some pretty cool guest speakers, and usually sheriffs or the police chiefs will come in, because, again, bridging that gap, showing that we're tired of catching you just as much as you're tired of being caught.
Yeah.
So having that done, but that's cool, because in there they say, and they pass, and they all do it. But I tell them, this is what I tell them. I said, you're going to lie to me. I don't believe a word you say in here. So I only give them my email address. So why do I do that? And they ask for my phone number and all this. I'm like, no, you're just going to get my email address. I said, because if you're serious when you get out, you'll find a way to email me. And now I know you're actually ready to work. So then they can join my 12 to 18 month program that's actually being researched by TCU.
Oh, nice.
They're doing...
I'm alumni from there.
Oh, well, yeah, the Criminal Justice Department is the one doing the research on our program.
So I bet Johnny Non's involved with that then.
Actually, it's Dr. Bowen and...
Kendra?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
She's awesome.
I like both of them, and Bree. So, yeah, they're phenomenal. They're the ones helping us see if the effectiveness of the program inside and then outside. And so what happens is they stick to us for 12 to 18 months, because really that's the time period that they're gonna reoffend. So if we can protect them from whatever their crises or vices is or what their issues are for 12 to 18 months, then they pretty much can be, led on their own again. So what we do is we every week we meet for 2 hours and we talk. We talk about what is your successes this week, what are your failures this week, what have we learned this week, and I actually have them all in a group chat too.
Nice.
So because again, I've never done drugs. I've drank occasionally. I've usually stopped drinking. I have a lot of different issues. They all have similar issues. Plus, they've all served and, they've all been on the streets together. They've all been in the facility multiple times with each other. So I want them to help each other recover now.
Yeah.
And so I put them in a group chat, and we all just share memes. We talk about successes, failures still in there, but we also meet. So I'm trying to, keep a tight hold on them to help them out in any way that we can. And I try to pair them up with mentors from the community, because again, this is community involvement, because a lot of these guys are going back to their same environments that cause their issues. But hopefully we've trained them enough to start knowing boundaries and being able to adapt their environment. Now that's not going to be easy for some of these people that have come from, maybe gang life or certain, entities or certain places where they are. So it is going to be hard for them. But if they could have one person from the community that can be that little voice of, little angel on their shoulder that can, if they start going down that path again, they can have somebody to call and go, I just need someone to talk to. I just need to grab a coffee. Like I just need some help. That could steer them away from that path.
Yeah.
Because again, the only reason I don't go back to that life, because if you look, the stats are 80%. I'm 80% chance to do it again, and the next time I do it, I will go through with it. So how do I stay in that 20%? How do I stay in there? It's a lot of me, right? It's a lot of working on me, but I also have a huge support system behind me.
Right.
I know the people now.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I teach them too, and this is what I had to do, when I came out of the psych ward, I went and talked to every single person that called me and said, Eric, this is what you said to me. This is how I took it. When I do this again, this is what I need you to tell me. So I'm just trying to teach them, educate them. This is how, this is how we need to interact.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there were some people and family members that would not change what they said. So I had to make the choice to cut family members out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, especially where I came up from. I had a pretty strong family, and it was great, and childhood was awesome. And to cut family members out because of now who I needed in my corner is very hard. And so I'm trying to show them the same thing as, some of the people that you've dealt with may not be fully in your corner, and that you may need to readjust that who's in your things. You may have to cut ties that you don't want to cut. And so bringing the community in as like a third party that can help them, guide them down the right path now with the stuff they're doing, with the stuff we're doing. It's been pretty cool to see some of these. Like I said, I have a veteran that has been heavily into drugs for a lot of his time out of the military, and he has now, made me super proud. He's at TCC. He's going to get his, he's just now completing his first year, and he's going to get his degree in, helping with addictions and all this stuff. And so, does he still have issues? Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to, but it's how they've learned from these issues now. Got another guy who's not a veteran who just went to his first job interview ever. And he called me up and said, Tom, I don't know what to do. I said, and for us, it's easy. It's like, okay. But I was like, take a shower, put deodorant on, comb your hair.
Yeah. Start with the basics and then work your way up.
Wear a polo shirt, jeans, take all the bling bling off, research the company, don't talk street. And it was the best interview they've ever had. And then he got the job, and then in 3 months, he's been promoted again.
So you're doing also non-veterans?
Yes.
Okay.
So work with veterans and non-vets at the facilities that we're at.
Because that's one of the questions I was going to ask, or actually point out that, like, it stinks to say this, but there are some people that belong to gangs, get in the military, use that military training, then they get back out and go right back to the gangs. So that is a thing. And them going into the prison system, like, is a high probability if they're going to be. But now you've just taken that military training and put it into a gang that doesn't help things. But one of the things that frustrates me with the system, and you could probably agree with this, I would think, is here we are. we're trying to rehabilitate, right? We're trying to give these people a second chance in a system that is stacked against them, where you had a support system getting out, right? You had even though you've got an 80% chance of going through with it, I would say it's dumbed down even less because you do have a support system versus these guys that go into the prison system, they get out and now they've got the system stacked against them because if they got a felony on their record, what options do they have? Not nearly as many as you or I. So you continue to pay for something even though you've paid for it.
Yep.
That's what frustrates me.
It is.
You do your time. To me, you do your time, you do your time.
Yep.
Once you're out, that should be it. That should be it. Yep. I just don't agree with keeping that on the record.
So we try to do, and there's just so much, but just like veterans, right? Like for me, there was so much help out there. There's so much resources for me, right? But I get into my own head. So an example of that, and it relates to this, is so when I got out in October of 2021, how many soldiers had I told what to do, how to get out, and all this stuff?
Right.
I didn't follow any of it because, for taxes, I don't do my own taxes. My taxes are easy, but I don't do them. You know why? Because I think I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to miss a zero. I'm going to miss a dot. I'm going to miss I'm going to miss something.
Yeah.
So I'll make Eric do my taxes because I feel comfortable because I can blame you, even if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Someone else to blame. So I didn't go and get my benefits for a very, very long time because my head was not. I was defeating myself, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with these guys. Is they get out, they want to do good. They're in their same environments. They don't know how to get all the resources out there, right? So what we try to do is, there's a bunch of job fairs. So I'll go to job fairs. I'll invite them to come with me. Come to job fair. But I'll talk to Eric. Eric, so you're the HR rep for this company, and you'll talk to me. And I'm like, okay, this, and then I go, okay, but you're hiring. What's your record on hiring? People with records. Well, okay. Well, what's your background check? What's your? How do you do it? What jobs are they eligible for? How far can they advance? And they'll, majority of them will say this, or no. And if they are saying yes, then what I do is I step to the side and I'll go talk to Jim. And then these guys, the guys that were right behind me, come and talk to Eric now because I have already broke through all the barriers. I've already asked all the hard questions and broke it down. So where now these guys saw all that interaction, like, okay, cool. And they can formulate a plan, talk to them and say, okay, well, hey, I've got to pass. And now the uncomfortableness, the icebreaker is there because it's hard to find job fairs straight up for these guys that are not out of the jail or for them to be able to get to or know about it. There are some out there, but it's always harder.
Yeah.
So every job fair I go to now is, regardless of what it's tailored to, is I'll break those molds. And I think that's something too, is helping these guys navigate the system instead of, like you said, saying they offended, then they offended, but then you put them right back out into an area.
Yeah.
They're going to reoffend.
Fall right back into the crowd they were with. Yeah.
We're not hoping that at all. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
And without having mentors, without having, someone to be there and help them out or give them an extra hand, then we're asking them to just go back because that's all they know. That's what they know.
And if people listening are having a hard time relating, like, this is an easy way to think of it. And I this is my go-to. You know what to eat and to exercise to stay fit and healthy. I don't care who you are. Most people know what to eat or how to stay healthy. And you could tell yourself all day, I know I shouldn't eat this McDonald's. I know fast food's bad for me. But what do? We still eat the McDonald's. So if you're like, well, he knows he's got all this mental health training, like, he should be good now, right? No, that's not how it works. You know you shouldn't eat fast food, but here you are the 5th time this week eating it. Like, it's the same thing. So I like using that simple analogy for people that are like, oh, I don't understand. You have all this training. It's the same thing for cops. Like, you sit there and you're like, you're out there to help people, and yet they have a high suicide rate, or they go and say something stupid because they just came from a dead baby call and it's screwing with their head, and they weren't able to recognize within themselves that maybe they should take the rest of the shift off, or maybe a supervisor didn't recognize that. I have another problem with that. We haven't even got into the supervision side of things, but that's a big one. Recognizing when you do have a CIT incident or there's something going on and you don't have a CIT unit available, you as a supervisor damn well better have the ability to recognize when your officers are helping or if they're hurting. And you should be that involved as well. So
Agreed.
I think a lot of times we fail as supervisors when it comes to this career field and in the military, not being as involved as we should. Like I did what I'm required to do, and that's it. I don't like that. Like when you step into the role of a supervisor, you're agreeing to do more than just what the job requires.
They become part of your family, whether you've accepted them as basically your children, your family. You're there for their well-being.
How important do you think it is? I know you guys say you have a group message, you do all that, but I think human contact is essential. So how much relevance do you guys put on the making sure you meet in person?
It is because it's again about accountability, right? And whether it be via the Zoom, via the phone, whether it be in person, it's about accountability at the end of the day, right? It's Tom isn't just being this way because he wants to know everything about their lives and be part of their lives. It's making them, think. I want their brains to continuously be thinking of it better. And because I tell them, for me, I'm not on any medication, right or wrong or whatever somebody may think about that. I don't medicate. Why? Because all the medication that I've been on had side effects, and I still have side effects to some. So I choose a holistic means to deal with myself. Our body's meant to heal itself. Our body it produces stuff to heal itself. So not saying that people don't need medication. I'm not. People get mad at me, and I'm like, I just think.
So you are Tom Cruz.
Yeah. Instead of 12 bottles, I think you can reduce it to 6 that are definitely necessary. If we put, what did we like? So for veterans, I tell them, what did you like doing before the incident? So for me, it's video gaming and photography. And so, for me is if I'm staring off or I'm upset or I just don't know what's wrong or I'm just in my head, I'll go grab a video game and play 20 minutes of Call of Duty because it's 22 minutes for a win, or me for like 10 minutes if you get killed. But
I'm with you.
Fortnite, 22 minutes to win a game of that.
Yeah.
Again, 10 minutes if you're me. But it gets me in a different mindset. The same thing with photography is I've got to go take my camera. I've got to go find the right lighting, the right subject, and then I've got to take 1,000 pictures, and then I've got to edit them. And what have I just done? I've reset my brain.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know what was wrong, or if I do know what was wrong, I've reset it to something that I enjoy. Now, yes, there are people that need medication to balance stuff out, but I'm just thinking the amount we're given could be reduced heavily if we incorporate other things that our body is already meant to heal itself with, right? And so that's the same thing with this is it's accountability. It's weird these guys will come and tell me when they've messed up, but they'll also send me successes. So I've got a guy in a class right now, and he sent me a certificate of a thing he graduated when he first got there. And I was like, why is he sending me this? And I showed my boss, I said, why do you think he sent me this? I said, of all people in the world, I'm a nobody to him. I've interacted, we're whatever, but why is he sending me the certificate? I said, you know why? It's because he's holding me to hold him accountable. He wants to show me that he's going to be better.
Yeah.
That he did something that he hasn't done ever in his life. So it's not trying to he was showing me the progress. So I tell these guys all the time, when they do good, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Because how many of these guys probably never heard, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Keep going. You're doing well. Look at when you do that to a kid. When you tell a kid, hey, you're doing great. I'm so proud of you. Their eyes light up. Their body changes.
Yeah.
Same thing with adults. When you tell somebody that you're proud of them, they get all like, oh, because we're not used to hearing that. And that's how these guys are too.
Mm-hmm.
They've only heard that they're scum of the earth. They only heard that they're never going to be anything, or you're just going to keep coming in here. Or, yeah, I've seen you 17 times now. So they've never heard somebody be proud of them or that their accomplishments, right or wrong.
Yep.
So even if they did something dumb and they text me or they call me and say, Tom, you know what, I just did this. And I'm like, okay, well, is it safe? Yes. It was in my, whatever. I'm like, well, what do we learn from that?
Yeah.
And they're like, you're not going to yell at me? Well, no, what's that going to do? And I give the example is I have a child that lives in North Carolina. I don't really get to talk to him that much, but I text all the time. I text. Sometimes I don't hear from him for a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And so one time, it would have been about 2 months, and he finally texted me, hey, Dad. I was like, yes. And he called me. And I tell these guys in the jail, I said, there was 2 ways I could have handled that. I could have yelled at him and said, why ain't you messaging me in the past 2 months? Why ain't you answering your phone? I'm your father. Why ain't you texting me back? But where would that have gotten me?
Nowhere.
He would have shut down instantly and said, you know what? I'll talk to you in another 3 months.
Yeah.
But what I did is I played this off as a joke. Hey man, well I'm glad you're finally talking to me. Did you not see my text? He's like, what? I said, I've only been texting you for like 2 months. I said, but I'm just it's Dad. I'm like, oh good, do whatever. And he's like, come on, Dad, it ain't like that. I was like, oh no, just what?
Yeah.
And so I ended up talking to him for 3-4 hours now.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I shifted, the way that I talked to him, changed the outcome of that. I now got a meaningful conversation with still getting my point across.
Yeah.
Hey man, I've been texting you for 2 months, but I did it in a way that was softer. So it's these guys are the same way. Is if we change how we talk to them, if we show them more different ways, instead of going, you're going to do bad, we're going to send you to jail. Okay, but jail's not going to do anything for them. It doesn't do anything. It's not breeding change. And so, if we start working with them in different ways and showing, hey, we got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Life sucks. Environment sucks. How do we make it suck less each day?
When you go into the culture of the military and police, it was always the kudos side of things is so rare because what do they tell you? That's your job. Mm-hmm. That's what you signed up. You're supposed to do that. And so you don't hear that you're doing a good job and stuff like that a lot. And then if you do hear it, then you kind of like the cynical side of us is like always being condescending. Yeah. You're just giving me shit. So now we're talking, veterans that are incarcerated, and I imagine that is huge for them.
Same thing with civilians. It's even more on the civilian side because they don't have that military, that baggage to at least I can. In the military side, I can be harsher with them because I can push it to a different limit because I know that. Yeah. On the civilian side, they may have been never told they were going to be anything. They may have come from nothing. They may still be coming from nothing.
Yeah, and so that's where they'll go back to. And
so trying to be, I don't want to say friend because it's not about being their friend. It's about just being somebody that's holding them to a standard, right? And as soon as they get to that standard, I take another step.
Right.
I'm like, Tom, why'd you take another step? Because I want you to keep, you're not done. Like me, even though I'm considered an expert in the mental health field, I still go to seminars. I still go to classes. I still go research. I'm like, I will never, if I ever stop at a certain point, then that must be when I'm dead. Yeah. Because there's always more to learn, always the next step, always the next level. I'm always trying to achieve something.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I get all the time. They're like, how do you have time? How do you have time for all this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. I got to keep challenging myself somehow. So you're right. And I think that is when you let the mind get stagnant, that's bad. That's bad news. And I think when our cops start to have their mental health issues, what is challenging you anymore? Are you challenging yourself to do things? Are you trying to strive to reach things? When you start to, the common theme I've seen with any of my buddies that have struggled with the mental health side of things is like, they're not going after anything anymore. They're not, whether it's something small, just trying to improve your relationship with your kid. Us in the military and cop world, we don't get to see our family near as much as we want to. But then we get into that mindset, well, this is just how things are. Oh, they grew up with this. They know, they're used to this. And then we don't try to improve anything. And then we isolate. And when we start to isolate, that's where everything starts to really fall apart. You got to reach out. My wife and I, we actually got, tell me if you've ever heard of this. We got this app called Evergreen.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
And it's basically just a relationship building app where we play games. You answer these questionnaires and it'll show like all your answers and all her answers, and then it gives you like a percentage of like it'll say you won this game or what, little things like the type of music. So
that's neat. I like that.
It's fun. My wife and I have been together basically since like 7th grade. So
congratulations.
Yeah, we've been together a long ass time. But in two career fields that are notorious for divorce and not staying together and infidelity and all that, all that stuff goes. So people ask, like, how the hell are you guys doing what you're doing? And I'm just like, I don't know. I think we just keep challenging each other with improving our relationship. That's always so cool. Trying to do that. So those are things I like to point out. The isolation, like when you start doing that stuff, it leads down a bad path. And then us as supervisors, us as friends and stuff, when we start to see the isolation, it's like, what do you do? What do I do as the friend if I start seeing you isolate?
I mean, at the same point, you guys, and as like you're talking about the first responder friends and all that, that is huge. I mean, you're already in the field, that has less people every day. A lot of
Yeah.
these police stations I go to are so undermanned. The facilities are so undermanned. Yet you're demanded more every day, right? And I talk to them, and I'm just like, it amazes me. Like some of them, I've talked to some that have been in for 26 years, yet they're still running, 12, 14, 16-hour shifts. And I'm just like, man, how are you doing that? And then, the stuff you see on the street, I talk to them and stuff that they see and hear on the streets. In the military, it's a little different, right? We've seen horrific stuff, and I've seen horrific things people do to each other across the world, right? But I've seen it at spurts, 8 months, 9 months, a year, whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen spurts. Whereas as a first responder, whether it be, a police, a medical, or whatever, they see this stuff almost every day, and they're seeing it within the borders of our communities, and they're seeing it, with people that you see in a Walmart that, on a daily, like they're seeing it at such a thing that it takes me believing it a bigger toll. And then if you don't have a good support system not only in family, which you need to support strong family, but if you don't have strong supervisors to be able to go, the amount of all that stuff, and then back it up with good resources to get them help, like One Tribe and internal medical stuff is there to help them out to be able to give them that advantage to go do that. It's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
They're ticking time bombs.
Yeah.
And they're going to do what they need to do to protect that bomb from exploding. And that is isolation, drinking, taking, like you said, they may go to a horrific incident, and all of a sudden it's a traffic stop and it blows up,
Yeah.
and you're like, and the person's just like, oh my God, I've been offended and blah 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 blah. Yes, rightfully so. You took the brunt of something, but what was going on earlier yesterday, a week ago, that is traumatizing? It's all about events.
Yeah.
It isn't one event. It isn't just the pullover
Accumulative,
did not cause it.
accumulative
Yeah.
trauma, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your recommendation if I, let's say I do start seeing signs and symptoms of somebody I work with? Like how me as a first responder or a coworker or military or whatever, what are things I can do that would have helped you maybe?
So again, it's just talking, right? Like I do, and if we had my wife on here, she would be able to explain better, because this really questions more towards her.
Yeah.
Right. For me, I've learned it from her. So how did she get us out of that situation? She said the thing that helped me the most is I shut up. She was recognizing that everybody else was doing the talking to me, not listening to me. So what she did, she shifted that paradigm. Was when she sat in front of me, she shut up. She let me pour everything out.
Yeah.
And it came where she just, okay, and so what I'm hearing you say is this. So what I'm hearing you say is this. And just giving me the chance to finally let everything out into her, and taking it all out, where wasn't no judgment. There's no, well, that's just dumb, or, you're overthinking that, you're over expanding it. So it's really just being there to let people talk and recognizing symptoms and going, hey, I've seen you off. You're not looking like you're normal. Or some in the first responders, most of them are tight relationships, so they kind of know the families already. So if you see a shift in the family dynamics, if you see a shift in their work performance, then just bring it to their attention and pulling them aside and doing it off location too. So I think that's another thing, is like pulling the person off to the side to, if you go to a bar, or if you go to a ball game, or you're at their house, or you're at whatever, or if you're or if you're in a car with somebody else and you're out on the thing and saying, hey, I've noticed some things, I'm just here. I just want to talk. So, it's just being that peer-to-peerness, and then being vulnerable. And for me, I don't care what people think of me. I could care less. I've gotten criticized. I've been told I should be in jail. I shouldn't have a family. I shouldn't have kids. I shouldn't have a job. I've been told the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
I don't care, because if this interview, if the other interviews, if one more speech I do stops one more person from doing what I put my family through, and what I still apologize to my family every day, And if it stops them, or if it stops somebody else, or recognizes something with somebody else, then I'll take all the criticism in the world. I'll be the voice for the people that don't want to talk or feel uncomfortable talking. And that's why I didn't go after a degree in psychology or therapist or all that stuff, because you are not going to bound me from 9 to 5. You are not going to make me, because I spent thousands of dollars on that degree, be bounded not to help you because who has issues between 9 and 5? Nobody.
Yeah.
It's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock when we start getting to our thoughts, our own drinks, and whatever else to get into. So it's being there for somebody else and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So me being vulnerable with the community, with people, has helped people come to me. Yeah. More people will come to me. I hear stories that, and I was just talking to an officer yesterday at an event, and I shared my story, and she ended up going, well, I have a brother who's this. That's done this. I have this, and more people now start feeding me parts of their lives that they've probably never told people, or are ashamed of it, and just because I'm vulnerable, I'm showing my cards on the table and going, this is who I am. Yep. Like me or hate me, I could care less.
Yeah.
But if I can help, so I think being vulnerable, which is getting harder for our community to do, I think that would be a key thing, is just talking and being vulnerable and saying, you know what, I've got the same issues. I've thought of dumb stuff, or I've been through stuff. I've struggled with this or that.
Yeah,
I think that's key.
And being authentic about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's how do you explain being authentic? I don't know.
Well, being authentic means, let me tell you this. So when I go to do all these, and when I go to these conferences, what are the first things that people ask you when you say, hey, I want you to present at this conference? What do they ask you for after that?
I don't know.
They ask you for a bio, and they ask you for your presentation.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, send us your presentation.
I don't have one.
I don't have one.
Exactly. That's how I do this.
So
I don't have one.
Authentic is being standing up there and not giving you, I can give you, well, this is the veteran population, and this is how many incarcerated, and this is how many kill themselves, and oh my God, Texas is this and this. Instead, I'll show you a picture of my family. I'll show you maybe a picture of me and my son playing a video game together. But then it's that interaction where I'm actually talking to you instead of having me talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm personal. I'm giving you authentic. Right. This is authentic.
It's not rehearsed.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's me actually getting up there and just being vulnerable and open. Yeah. That's authentic. Yeah.
Thank you. You just gave me a way to start explaining that, because I've talked about this before. I'm like, I think part of the draw to shows like why I like Joe Rogan. I listen to his stuff all the time because the dude comes across authentic. I don't know how to explain it, but that's just why I like him. I don't feel like anything's forced. I can tell it's just a natural conversation, and he's not doing a bunch of research prior to. He's just talking to him like we didn't know each other. We didn't have a pre-phone call before you got here. Nope. We showed up. I'm like, where'd you work again? Yeah. I had no fucking clue, because I want the conversation to flow and be natural and be authentic. So it's hard when you're trying to, because cops are cynical, and we can be assholes to each other, because that's just part of the camaraderie.
That's awesome.
And but when you reach out and you're like, hey man, like, is everything cool? Like, it's hard for ourselves to accept we're being authentic when we feel like we're coming across fake or pandering or whatever. And so it's good to hear from you, because I mean, this is your field. It's not my field. So when I reach out, or if I do talk to somebody, especially when the relationship issues start to happen, you can see, the officer cheated on his wife with it's always waitresses or nurses. That's weird. I don't get it. Even though my wife's a nurse. No. But it when that happens, you see that big fall. It's and they either become really angry or just so they don't talk to anybody. They just isolate themselves. So, reaching out to those guys, I think the ones that you see the risk factors and stuff. Again, it goes back to supervision, but you don't have to be a supervisor. Be a coworker, whoever.
And if there's enough people, if there's a supervisor issue within that, then getting and planting the seed with other officers, right, and find out the commonality issues within that little team, then that team needs to bond together and then go to the supervisor and say, these are the issues we're having on our team. Like, you're not addressing these issues. How
Oh,
can we
yeah.
get help? So what it's doing is it's for, because we already, like I said, we already know that the force is thinning out, and it's hard to get in, and it's hard to keep good ones now, and a lot of them are retiring. But if they can bond together and show that there's a commonality of issues that they're having for whatever area they are, and then go to the supervisor and go, hey, we are as a team coming to you because we have these issues.
Yeah.
We are not going to be able to continue to do this, or this, and we need this kind of help. And, but that takes somebody, like me, that doesn't care, that wears everything on their sleeves. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I have no, like I used to tell the soldiers, do you know the toughest, the strongest person in the world is somebody that doesn't want to be around the next day? Why? Because, and one that wants to get help, because they've literally said at this point that I'm done with life, but yet they've woken up, took a shower, got in their car, went to a facility, walked that road where people probably already look, because mental health is never usually at the front; it's usually in the back somewhere, and you've got to walk all the way down there, and they're asking for help. That is the strongest person in the world, in my opinion, because no one, all of us are faking it. All of us are faking it and making it each day.
Yeah.
But for that person to get up and sit there and do all these things to go and get help, I used to tell my troops all the time, and I told leadership this, because I wouldn't do a show up unless leadership was in the front, because I wanted to hold the leadership accountable for
Yeah.
for everything. And I said, if you ever need somebody to walk down that road to that office with you, I will walk with you. Just give me a call. I will meet you there and walk you down. I said, I dare somebody to say something. I will rip them a new one. I will make them feel littler than if they say something about, oh, why are you getting help, or oh my goodness. I'll be like, let me find out. And I've talked to commanders, and I've talked to colonels, and I've talked to people, and I was like, your soldier's coming with me. We're gonna. Oh, but you can't. I was like, so you're going to tell me you'd rather have a barricaded suicidal soldier than me going to get help, and that him be more productive, because now I said, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Just let me know that you want. Let me know. I'm
Yeah.
just because I just want to make sure I'm hearing this right. Well, and usually because I came from a different command, they didn't want. Now you're spreading it around, and so it was. I always put that out there, is that I will walk next to you to make that hard decision, and I dare somebody. I will be your shield.
Yeah.
So it's trying to have each other's back. It goes back to the peerness. It goes back to protecting each other, and we don't do that a lot in the community, in general, and
Yeah.
just the humans have lost a lot of humanity.
Yeah.
So it's we need more people to be able to do that, and especially in all those fields too. Is somebody's got to unfortunately be the one that's gonna be like, hey,
Yeah.
enough is enough.
Yeah.
We need help.
So where you're at now with your recovery, I guess, so you're
Mhm.
always recovering.
Yep.
You're always fighting that battle. But what are you doing for you? What do you do? I mean, obviously one community.
Mhm.
I am assuming you're not doing that just because you're doing
Yeah.
that helps you
Mhm.
in your own path. But
Mhm.
you said you do the video game and stuff. I kind of want to
Yeah.
let's hit that
Yeah.
video game stuff.
So, the funny part of the video gaming is I've been video gaming since Atari Coleco. So
Okay.
back in
Back in the day.
I have all of them. My mom still has all the systems, all the games. And then the Army had a tournament in 2020. It was the first. It's called Soldier Showdown. It was 12 weeks, 12 video games.
Okay.
And I was stationed in Europe at the time. I took number 1 in Europe and number 2 in the Army.
What?
And it looked funny because it was private, so the lowest ranked person was number 1, and he beat me by like 10 or 20, maybe 30 points. And then it was me, a 40-some-year-old man, took second, and then another teenager, mid-20 dude, took third. But because it's again, like I said, it's been my outlet.
Yeah.
It's what I do. It also it's a way to connect with my children. So like Pokemon Go came out in 2016. All my kids jumped on it. I jumped on it. Why? Because now we were catching Pokemons together. Now I still play it. Some of them don't.
Yeah.
But that's because I got OCD and I got to catch them all. But it's the same thing with gaming. It's a way for me, and actually I'm giving this, and I'll do this little plug, but the Texas Suicide Symposium is in June, and it's in, I forget, it begins with a B. It's right before Austin.
Beaumont? No, that's way down there.
Brufflin or
New Brufflin? New Brussels? Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
But they're having their conference there, and that's one of the things I'm on the panel for video gaming, and it's connectiveness, because what was funny is, so military side of it, I was part of a, special team, and we would literally go on real live targets, real live things, real GI Joe stuff, real stuff you see in the movies, and then we'd come back, and what do? We play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
We'd play Call of Duty against other houses or other teams. We'd literally had just done the real thing.
Yeah.
When we come back on video games. And so that's one way we connected. And then my son and I, so the same thing with my children, is it's a way to connect it, right? So they play video games anyways. And we're saying, well, video games are bad. Video games are bad. But do you know what? When I sit down and play Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft with my son, do you know I find out I would say about 100% more information from him than I go, hey, bud, how was school today? What'd you learn?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I go, hey, let's go play Roblox. Hey, so what'd you do in school today? Oh, Dad, this isn't. I will learn more from him.
Yeah.
Playing, connecting with him during a game than I will talking to him. People were like, oh man, that's just because you're bad parenting or you don't know how to talk to your kid. No, I know exactly how to get to my kid.
I was gonna say it's because you know how to talk to your kid.
And yes, the video game, but he's also monitored. Yes, he's not 24/7 and he's not blah 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 blah. But I also learned how to connect with him, that where I can use that as a precursor to start more conversations. Because when we're done gaming and we're chilling, down for the night, or we're, I'm putting him to bed, or we're doing something, or we go for a walk, because we go for walks all the time. He will talk to me more.
He's more open now. Yeah.
Because I've already opened that dialogue with him. I've reached him where he's at.
Yeah.
So for gaming for us has been one of those connectiveness where I've, I don't like playing Roblox, and he knows that. So if he sees this, he'll know. He's like, I don't like playing Roblox. I just sit there and I'm like, I fall asleep.
Yeah.
Or Minecraft, but it's meaningful to him.
Yeah.
And if I really want to, and then my other son was the same way with Fortnite, because he lives in North Carolina, I'd get on and play Fortnite, and I would learn so much more about him.
Yeah.
Than if I just sit there and try to call or text or do whatever else, just because it was a way we connected. It was building competitiveness. It was building a bonding.
Yep. It's funny you mentioned the Pokemon Go, because when that came out, I was on bike patrol in a downtown area in a big city. So I was like, you know what? There was all this hype about it coming out. And so I was like, you and I both, we grew up after or before the Pokemon really was popular. So I missed that train. Yep. And then this thing was coming out. I was like, you know what? If I can get on it at the beginning, maybe I have a chance. Let me use this. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to use it as a way to bridge the gap with the community. So,
wow.
So what I did was I started playing around the city, and while I'm working, seeing because people were zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd cross a busy street, not paying attention because they're like, oh, he's over here. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? So I'm like, how can I use this? So I started using it. I would find out the hot spots
where the gyms were and stuff.
Yeah. And then, so I'd find that, and then I would find obscure locations in the city that I was finding the rare ones. Now I don't play it anymore, but, when I was playing, I started noticing that, like, oh shoot, there's these few spots that like these rare ones will pop up at. So I would see these people walking. You could tell right away. It's 2:30 in the morning, like, and you're over here on this side of the town where nobody's usually at. You're looking. Yep. Yeah, I could tell. So I'm trying to tell them, like, you got to pay attention to your surroundings. You're in an area where you could get robbed, or somebody could try to take advantage of you. Homeless will hit up on you. So just got to be careful. And it was using it, and it worked. I mean, people loved it. They'd want to get their picture with you afterwards. They want to get friends with you on other games and stuff like that. I love Clash Royale, so I play the shit out of that one. And I'll tell you this, Clash Royale, if y'all think you can mess with me, I am maxed out. I have about 5 million gold. Everything that you can max out, I got maxed out.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so I've been playing it that long. But yeah, the I like that, the connecting. Finding something to connect with, and then the video game stuff. That's what I do. I'll get on live, and I will play Call of Duty, and I will try to, I'll talk police tactics. I'm like, all right, okay, so if I'm going to try to look at this from a police side of things, I go into this building, I was like, I want to clear my corners, let's do stuff like that. But the other thing that I want to show is, like, younger people, not that younger people watch me that often, but if they do, or if they're curious about police work and they stumble upon me, they'll see another cop who's a 40-year-old dad that gets on and plays. Like,
that's awesome.
It's just another way. like you said, to connect and talk. I have a Twitch channel. It's got all of like 50 people following it because I just don't use it that often, but it works, man. And are you doing it? Are you doing lives and stuff when you do your?
So I've fallen since I've moved down here. I've moved into 3 apartments because I've understood. I found out the hard way that Texas is not built for cold and all stuff, and so I've had pipes burst a lot, and so I keep moving.
Okay.
And so I've finally gotten, I think, in one that won't break, I think. And so yeah, I've got it set up and stuff, and I have my Twitch and all that. So I'm trying to get back into the streaming, but then there's Kick now. So Kick's the new streaming platform. So Twitch, and see, I hope Twitch isn't watching. Don't get mad, but how Twitch does, like they take 50-50 and they got ads and then they've got all these kind of rules and stuff.
Okay.
Well, Kick just came out and they're giving 95 to 5%. So you get 95% of the stuff.
Any revenue.
Yeah. And they don't have ads and you can play any music you want. And basically it was set up for gambling. So it actually was for slots and casinos.
Okay.
And now they've changed it over to now where they've got the video games. And so since there's another entity.
So there's no copyright issues? Like if I start
Not
playing
yet.
music?
Not yet.
Okay.
And these people are doing they're watching movies. So you can watch movies this guy that I follow, he moved from Facebook because Facebook gaming's dying like quickly, very badly. And so he went over there and he has movie night with his crew. So he's got YouTube Premium and we watch a movie with his community, and then he's got tournaments. He plays games. And then, it's right now it's a wild, wild west.
Well, I'll have to jump on.
How long it's going to take before everyone realizes it's Wild Wild West? Because
I'd never heard of it.
It's literally been out. Well, it's been out for a very long time, but it's been out within the last 2 weeks, and then they just put a Apple and a Android app to it.
Okay.
And they're moving towards. So I play console, and so they're moving it to Xbox here shortly too.
Okay. I mean,
so they're moving.
Your Army, that makes sense. You get Air Force, and I'm pointing out my badass computer.
I know he's kind of nice. He's got a nice one. Yeah. Kind of jealous.
It works as a furnace in this room though, so keeps the room warm.
But yeah, gaming's awesome. I highly recommend it, and I recommend anything that is going to get you to do something than just be stagnant. So whether that be going for walks, whether that be reading, writing poetry, art, drawing, whatever is your niche. To do connectedness, to get with your, a lot of us, especially as parents and then peers and things, we want people to do what we want. Like, well, what do you like or what do I like and I want you to like it. Get out of your comfort zone and try something that somebody else is doing. And I guarantee you're going to get so much more out of that experience and out of that person. Yeah. It's if you get out, like I said, I don't like Roblox and Minecraft, but I will sit there and play that for hours and hours with my kid. My wife likes country music. I hate country music, but I will listen for a 5-hour trip, to country music. It's a way of still connecting even with, if I don't like it.
You need to try out Texas Red Dirt now that you're down here. I love Texas Red Dirt. I like all music, but
I don't know what that
is. It's country, but it's different. Okay. It's not like, no offense, Keith Urban, if you listen to this, no, you don't. Like that to me isn't like real country. It's more of that fake urban Keith Urban.
Well, I mean, I like Kenny Rogers and I like that old Dolly Parton. I'm old country, old, but I just don't like you. I don't believe this country is like country.
Yeah. So listen to Red Dirt. I think you'll like it. But my buddy got me into it. Where was it? Oh, so I'm talking about the mental health thing of doing something. So the podcast was kind of one of those things for me. It kind of rejuvenized me, got me in a better mental health, because it was COVID. That's when I started it. And I was going out of my mind. So kind of played this off in my thesis for my master's from TCU. So I went down this road, just wanted to see where it went, and then talking about coworkers and stuff, saying I'm proud of you, you're doing a good job, stuff like that. That was the feedback I was getting. And I mean, it was garbage. I was basically using a phone and an iPad and trying to make this shit work. And crappy mics. Like my very first episode, my buddy that I did it with, you could hear him in the left ear and you hear me in the right ear. That's how shitty it was. Wow. But to get feedback from friends and stuff, they're like, dude, like peers at that, because cops are cynical. So we're military guys. So to get them to not bash it and just say, like, dude, this is good. You got a good thing going. Like, see where it goes.
Oh,
Like
wow.
keep going with it. So that was cool. Well, that led to getting a good computer, right?
Mhm.
Because I was trying to improve this. Well, the one thing that I didn't realize I was missing for my soul is I had friends back home from when I was growing up. I joined the military and stuff, and I didn't lose touch with them. I talked to them,
Mhm.
but that was it. That was it. You missed. That's why I kind of got asked you about that human connection when meeting together in person. Well, I kind of figured out a way to get the best of both worlds through that damn computer, and I never knew that you could play games and see each other at the same time. Like I knew you could play and talk in a headphone and all that stuff, but what we do, my camera is behind my monitor. It's kind of hard to see. Well, now what we do is I play on one. I got two screens, guys, so I'll play on one screen. Call of Duty's on that,
Yeah.
but on the other screen is like the Brady Bunch picture of all my family and friends back home, and we're playing the game together,
Oh, wow.
seeing each other. Sometimes we'll drink, and turn it into a little party night, but it's fun. You're flicking the camera off and you're talking shit to each other. But I missed that. I didn't realize how much I needed it. And now it's almost a weekend, like every weekend, for a couple hours. We're all dads and stuff now, but
That's awesome.
we see each other, and it has improved my mental health so much that even my wife's like, "You gonna go play with your cousin?" I'm like, "Yeah." I don't get shit from her. She knows I'm happier, and I think that's just the maturity of our relationship.
Yeah.
We've been together so long. Like she knows there's certain things I need to do for me, this being one of them, so she'll support it. And I think that's important too for family members listening of first responders and vice versa, like you do for your kid. You play roadblocks because it's good. It's good for them. You see where they're at, and it helps you to connect. That's what we need to remember for our spouses is find something that they're into. Connect, do it with them if you can, if they want you to, but also understand if they need to do it for themselves. Like I think that's huge. Because if you don't, you're going to cause tension. Then the relationship stuff starts to happen, and then your mental health and the isolation. It just is a slippery slope, man.
Oh, it is. My wife hates it. My wife hates video games. She does not play video games at all. But she understands the importance of me doing it. She's seen the connectedness with my son and I. She sees what it does for my mental, what it does for me. And again, that's why I only play games that are, 20, 25-minute long ones. I don't play the World of Warcraft or the EverQuest where it takes 17 hours to get a boot. And you've got to be.
I played World of Warcraft when it came out.
I played EverQuest.
Oh my god!
It was. So now it's
a life sucker.
Yeah. So now if you play these games, so it's where you're meeting your partner halfway too, where it's okay. I don't like games. I don't play games, but I'll let you play, knowing, hey, if I need you to go do something, hey, just let me die real quick, or let me, or it's going to happen anyways, or I know in 20 minutes the game's going to be over regardless. Now I can go and do whatever needs to be done. So it isn't. I'm not stuck to that thing the whole time. So it's meeting them, halfway. It's not like, no, screw you. This is, and I'm going to be here for 72 hours and play all day long. It's like that's not fair to the other one at the same point. So I'm
not gonna lie. If my wife went out of town with the kids, like on a vacation or something, I might sit at that computer.
Oh, I would. No, I ain't gonna lie. I would. Like I said, my family doesn't live here, so literally I go to work. And not the boast, but I've got four monitors. But
what? You got four?
I've got a gaming, and then I've got my computer, and then I've got two other ones over here.
Oh, so that's beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. I would have more. I just don't have the space. That's the problem. So I'm currently battling. So I have that laptop, and I originally got it for the podcast for editing and stuff. It's a MacBook Pro. It's supposed to be great, right? Well, it was not great. It actually was terrible. Like it was stutter, and when you're trying to edit, and it was when the M1 chip first came out. So I've got all the updates and stuff. So recently I just set that back up. I want to see how it edits now that Adobe and everybody's had time to adjust to that chip coming out because the M2's out. So I want to see how it edits again, but I've been having problems, like the stuttering and whatnot. But I can't fit any more monitors. And I can only get that damn computer to connect to one monitor at a time. I don't know why. Oh, wow. I'm trying to fit. I'm going through the process of figuring that out. Okay. Again, challenging my mind all the time. Course. So trying to figure that shit out. So I ordered a part. I'm waiting for that. It should come in today. Now I'm thinking about it. And it's going to be my last ditch effort. If I can get both screens to work, that will really help me out for editing.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
Because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if I could get more monitors, dude, I would in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's what I do now. Is like I said, my family doesn't live here, so literally I go to work, I come home, I game.
Yeah.
And then usually because I'll have one of the, so I'll usually have like my phone. They get the small, and don't be mad, you all get the smallest one. But like I'll have my phone up, so I'll be like videoing with them while I've got playing with the video games on the big screen.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be like Facebook messaging with them.
Yeah.
Or my son will hit me up on Discord.
Yeah. We use Discord.
So me and him will be Discord, so then I can watch him play and then listen to it. So
it's odd. Yeah, that's the thing is, when we play the games together, we're on Discord and talking shit. All that stuff. And I always tell people, hey, people just private message me. I don't say my gamer names and stuff over this, but private message me if you want to play together. We can play. Yeah. I'm down.
That's awesome.
I'm not great, but
no, I'm
not. I will say I think I'm pretty good at sniping. I think I am.
Well, I need one on my team. So my wife likes it. She asks me every night. She's like, "So are you? So you're gonna go home and rage quit tonight?" Because you tell her, she's like, I said like, "Well, I'm gonna go home and play, and then I'll play until I rage quit and go to sleep."
Yeah.
So now it's a running joke. She'll ask me, it's like, "So you rage quitting tonight?"
Yeah.
I said, "Most likely."
It is frustrating when you get the cheaters on there, because that was pretty prominent. Horrible. Now that they just had the new season released, and I'm hoping, the cheaters will always figure a way around it. But for now, I'm hoping it kind of keeps them on. Have you seen anybody shoot with no gun in their hand or?
Not yet.
I haven't had that either.
I've just seen the wall hacks and the aimbots, and knowing exactly where I'm at, even though I'm hidden in.
Right. Yeah. They're already pre-firing as you're coming around a corner. They should have never known you're at. Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on. And the guy's like level 10. I'm like, it took me how many seasons to get to 170, and you're level 10, and yet you're mowing me down.
Right. Yeah. I'm at like 440 right now. Yeah, I play a lot. So,
well, I say I dedicate, and I play Fortnite, which I want to quit playing Fortnite because I've spent too much money on Fortnite, so I can't quit Fortnite because I hate Fortnite, but I put too much money into it. Yeah. So I have to keep that one. So I play that one. I max like all the levels out or whatever I need to do, and then I run back to Call of Duty.
Yeah. See, I haven't played. I kind of quit playing video games around 2010 because I was in the transition. I moved here. I was getting out of the military, trying to had a baby, all that stuff. So I just kind of fell out of video gaming altogether. And then when the podcast thing came back up, I was back into it. Like I think when I got out of it, I was playing CSGO. Like I was still new and all that shit. So, but yeah. Well,
you an Apex guy or?
I haven't played that.
No Apex?
No.
I love Apex. I think Apex is still the game of all games.
Oh, really?
Because the movement's easier, the weapons. It's just Apex is still in my mind
that's the standard.
The standard.
Okay. Yeah. No, I haven't played that one, but well, I appreciate it. Bro, you got anything else that we haven't hit? Do you think we should go on?
I appreciate it. Great letting me be on and sharing my story and everything that we're doing on. With the organization One Community USA, we're doing a lot of great things out there. We're out in the community a lot. We're actually partnered with Carry the Load. So a lot of you guys may know who Carry the Load is. They do the ruck marching both over here by TCU, and then they do it out there in Dallas. And so my team will be. I have a team. If you just go to Carry the Load and look at One Community USA, we'll be walking, and it's for fallen first responders and veterans.
Okay.
So if you want to donate, you can donate. If you want me to walk in memory of somebody, just let me know who you want me to walk in memory of, and I will walk. It's a 6-mile loop, and I plan to be out there for 24 hours. So. Oof. Yeah, me and another buddy, a Marine, shout out to y'all. Yeah. Hoorah! But he'll be walking with me. He's part of another organization, so we're gonna walk 24 hours, and it's a 6-mile loop. So, and it's in memory of, like I said, it's in memory of first responders and the veterans that we've lost.
How much weight are you carrying when
so
you're doing that?
I'm thinking about doing 22 pounds, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, I'm getting older to be able to do all that. It may be 22 when I start out, and then decrease as the day goes on.
Oh, I don't think my feet could handle it. But, well, all right, brother.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Appreciate you being on.